Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Fiona G.
And I'm Carrie Dunst.
We are only 25 days away from Election Day, and former President Barack Obama is on the campaign trail for Democratic nominee Kamala Harris.
We'll have an expert break down his latest speeches.
A Florida county commissioner confirms that 6 residents are dead in his area following Hurricane Milton. The longtime resident says that he has never experienced a storm like it.
And some groups were pushing for extended voter registration deadlines because of Hurricanes Milton and Helene. But federal judges say no. What's behind their decisions?
Russia today strengthening ties with the Iranian regime. What President Vladimir Putin says about the importance of the Moscow-Tehran connection.
A hefty $800,000 penalty potentially awaits a California energy executive. The Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against him for allegedly dodging tariffs on Chinese solar panels.
NTD's 7th International Piano Competition is coming to Manhattan, New York, as pianists prepare to compete for the top spot. This year's competition adds a new category.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
We have the latest updates on the campaign activities of former President Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris.
Trump will be rallying in Colorado and Nevada, while Harris returns to D.C. after campaigning in Arizona.
Trump will be making campaign stops today in Aurora, Colorado, and Reno, Nevada. The former president is expected to focus on illegal immigration and related gang crimes. Trump's campaign said he will discuss deporting criminal illegal immigrants.
Harris has a campaign event in Scottsdale, Arizona later this afternoon. Former President Barack Obama will be campaigning on her behalf in Arizona and Nevada next week.
Vice President Harris was busy on the campaign trail yesterday. NTD's Daniel Monahan has the key takeaways from events in both Las Vegas and Phoenix.
Vice President Kamala Harris participated in a town hall hosted by Univision in Las Vegas yesterday. Harris expressed support for universal health care.
I firmly and deeply believe that access to health care is a right and should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it.
The vice president also vowed to ensure abortion access at the federal level.
I will proudly sign back into law the protections of Roe v. Wade, which basically just says it's the person's decision, not the government's decision.
In the final question of the evening, a woman told Harris she wanted to see how the vice president values people she doesn't agree with. She asked Harris to name 3 positive things about former President Trump. Harris offered one.
I think Donald Trump loves his family, and I think that's very important. I think family is one of the most important things that we can prioritize. But I don't really know him, to be honest with you. I only met him one time on the debate stage. I'd never met him before.
Trump will also hold a Univision town hall in Miami on October 16th. It was originally planned for Tuesday this week, but was postponed due to Hurricane Milton. Live fact-checking was not a part of the Harris event and won't occur at Trump's either. Harris also took part in a rally in Phoenix yesterday. The vice president praised late Republican Senator John McCain for defying his party and voting to preserve the Obama administration's signature health care law. She also criticized Trump for refusing to participate in any more debates.
Now, I think it's a disservice to the voters.
Trump participated in 2 debates, one with President Biden and one with Harris. He says it's too late in the campaign for another debate with the vice president. With the former president confirming he won't participate in any more debates, CNN invited both Trump and Harris to town hall events. Harris immediately accepted. CNN said the 2 separate town halls will take place before a live audience of undecided voters on October 23rd in Pennsylvania. The network previously proposed a debate between Harris and Trump in Atlanta on October 23rd. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
The race for control of that White House couldn't be tighter as of the House couldn't be tighter as Democrats work to flip the chamber in their favor. The most vulnerable are keeping a distance from Vice President Kamala Harris. So what are they campaigning on? NTD's Melina Wisecup reports.
House Democrats only need a net gain of 4 seats to be able to flip the chamber in their favor. That means they need to hold on to the number of seats they currently have, as well as flip 4 that are currently held by Republicans. But with this year being a presidential race, the top of the ticket could influence down ballot races, making for a tough race for Democrat-controlled districts that Trump won in 2020. So what we've seen in these districts is those Democrat incumbents try to emphasize that they're an independent voice for voters. And one way that they do that is to distance themselves from not only the party leadership in Congress, but also notably from Vice President Kamala Harris. Here's one example from Alaska last night, a debate between the two House candidates.
And if it's our economy, if it's regarding guns, I'm happy to vote against my party.
Will you be voting for Kamala Harris?
It's a secret ballot, and I think both of our presidential candidates have flaws.
Peltola was the only Alaskan Democratic delegate not to vote for Vice President Harris's nomination at the DNC this year. She originally flipped this seat back in 2022 from red to blue. A similar situation we see over in Washington's 3rd district. This will be the first down ballot race for Congresswoman Perez to defend her seat, which will be a challenge considering that Trump won her district not once, but twice.
Who's to blame for the crisis taking place at the border, do you think?
Well, I mean, I've been very clear that the president should have taken more action.
She's one of 6 representatives who voted with Republicans this Congress to condemn Vice President Kamala Harris's handling of the southern border. Another on that list, Democratic Congressman Jared Golden of Maine.
Across 6 years, I voted for about $80 billion for CBP, for Border Patrol, for ICE. I stood up to the Build Back Better proposal that was President Biden's premier legislation. I said no to it.
But Golden does have experience navigating tight races. He carried that Trump won district even back in 2020 when Trump's name was at the top of the ticket. And of all these Democrats that we've mentioned, none of them have endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. And when Democrat leadership was pressed on this, the House Democrat campaign chief responded in their defense, telling The Hill earlier this week, the reason that they're all elected right now is because they have been independent, authentic voices for their districts. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Wisecup, NTD News.
Federal judge has approved the release of redacted evidence in Donald Trump's federal election case. The evidence supports a brief unsealed this month. Judge Tanya Chutkin ruled that the redactions proposed by prosecutors were appropriate, dismissing Trump's objections. Trump now has 7 days to block the disclosure. His legal team had argued against releasing any part of an appendix to the unsealed brief. Prosecutors allege the evidence shows Trump committed crimes to stay in office after losing the 2020 election. Trump's attorneys have said if they'll take further action to stop the release.
Next week, former President Trump will participate in a Fox News town hall with female voters. It'll be a taped event in Cumming, Georgia. Fox News will air it on Wednesday morning. Former President Barack Obama campaigned in Pittsburgh yesterday at the start of a swing state tour for the Democratic ticket. Obama appears to be sticking to the themes of his speech at the 2024 Democratic National Convention. Now, he spoke on the experience and values of Vice President Harris and Governor Walz, and he also had criticisms of former President Trump.
This election's going to be tight because there are a lot of Americans who are still struggling out there. They're still striving to make life better for themselves, for their families, and for their kids. And let's face it, as a country, we've been through a lot these last few years. We had a historic pandemic wreaking havoc on communities and businesses. So I understand people feeling frustrated and feeling we can do better. What I cannot understand is why anybody would think that Donald Trump will shake things up in a way that is good for you, Pennsylvania.
Obama called Harris a leader who has spent her life fighting on behalf of people who need a voice and a chance. Until now, he's been headlining fundraisers aimed at helping raise money for the Harris campaign. And now with under 30 days to go, Obama is making his appearances much more public. Harris could get another boost this weekend. Former President Bill Clinton will be campaigning for the vice president in Georgia on Sunday. The event will kick off his campaign to woo voters for Harris in battleground states. Joining us now to discuss more about Obama's appearances so far is Timothy Allen Simon, former appointments secretary for former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, a Republican strategist, and a friend of Kamala Harris. Timothy, thank you for joining us. So good to see you. I want to start with this. What stood out to you most from Obama yesterday?
What stood out most, which I think is unique to this presidential run, is the expressed effort to gain the votes of Black and Latino males, and particularly African American males. I consider this somewhat of a precedent, and I have to credit former President Donald Trump for putting a focus on this segment of the voting bloc. Once upon a time, the assumption was that this voting bloc would vote Democrat, and so Republicans did not pursue it, and many in the African American community felt that Democrats took the Black vote, and particularly the Black male vote, for granted. So if there's a cloud in this silver lining of a very contentious campaign full of vitriol, is I think that African American males, of whom ancestors have fought in every war in this nation's history and have been at the battleground of the civil rights movement and other important aspects of American history, are now a focus of a presidential and down ballot campaigns.
Timothy, I love that you bring up this point. This works perfectly into my next question here. So Obama, when he was addressing those male voters, he claimed that they were hesitant to vote for Harris because she is a woman. Do you find this an effective strategy? I mean, is this really why some people are choosing not to vote for Harris?
I'm not convinced it's an effective strategy. We're now in our cancel culture. There's what's called toxic masculinity. And I think the belief or the assumption that men will not vote for a woman, think about it. Mexico has a woman president. Mexico is the home of, as Saturday Night Live skit used to have, muy macho. I think men will vote for women, and I don't think men need to be shamed into voting for women. But I do think that the Harris campaign probably could put a greater focus on the Black male interest. And a lot of that involves economic opportunities, investments. I did some research this morning. Only 19.7% of African Americans in this country qualify under census data as impoverished. But to listen to the messaging of the Democrats, it often focuses on that issue of poverty within the African American community. I think they need to widen the net and talk about empowerment. And that's why so many African Americans went to the Republican Party once upon a time, because it was more about economic engagement versus the social safety net or Great Society programs. Be that as it may, I do think the Harris campaign has an edge in this sector. There's just going to have to be a greater focus to maintain it and not lose it to former President Trump.
Yeah, Timothy, a very interesting point you made there. And in connection with what you just mentioned there, a key concern we've constantly heard from voters about Harris is that they just don't know enough about her or her policies. I mean, do you find that yesterday's Obama speech improved that at all?
I do. I think anytime you have a former president come and speak on your behalf, a former president, two-term president, I should point out, former President Trump was a one-term president, and Barack Obama has enormous popularity amongst Democrats. But I think the challenge will be the swing voter in the battleground states who may not really know the vice president. To her credit, she has had a tsunami of media exposure, one-on-one dialogue. Some of it, I think, has been beach balls or softballs across the plate. But be that as it may, I think anyone that follows the major networks, the major talk shows, including The View, has gotten to know the vice president. It's not her fault that she was vice president. Most administrations, the focus is on the president and not the vice president. So in her case, as an incumbent, she has had to utilize whatever media, including social media tools she can, to give the voters a familiarity and comfort level with her, but more important, to get in front of the Trump campaign, the Trump Walz campaign, defining her in a way that is not complimentary.
You bring up an interesting point there that Harris is being supported by this two-term former president who is also very popular in his party. So I think it's an interesting dynamic here, isn't it? Harris has the support of Obama, and Trump doesn't have any explicit support from any former president.
Absolutely. And not only that, of course, Vice President Harris has the support of Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, and countless other Republicans, some of whom were in the Trump inner circle. If you look at the Republican convention, which was the official nomination of Donald John Trump, there were no former presidents or Republican presidents there to support his candidacy. Will this provide an edge? Is hard to say, because the MAGA movement is a disenfranchised movement. It focuses largely to the fringe of the Republican parties, not the core or the Reagan, Bush, Cheney type of institutional Republican. Quite the contrary, it has become antagonistic towards the legacy or historic Republicans. So it'll be interesting to see that effect on the independent or decline to state swing voters, because they're clearly looking for an alternative that is not the traditional party of Reagan, but more so what is becoming an isolationist and largely grievance-driven message from the MAGA movement.
Now, you're talking there a lot about the Republicans' overall sentiment or strategy right now. For Harris, do you think that Obama's presence on the campaign trail reignites some of that old support and passion that we saw among Democrats when he himself was running for president?
I'm not certain. We have a whole nother generation since Barack Obama was president, believe it or not. I think he's preaching to the converted. The question will be, can he capture the kind of Republican support or additional Republican support that he was able to capture in his election and re-election? I think that the jury is out on that, because you do have a new, younger voter. But I do believe that the issue of women's reproductive health care or women's health care is probably, if you look at the elections in various states regarding abortion, it is the bipartisan issue. And there, I do think Harris Walsh has an edge. I think they've given enough accounts of damaging the health of women, some of whom may have wanted to have their full-term pregnancies, but because of lack of access to that form of health care and the fear of health care providers coming under criminal prosecution. I think that's a universal message that'll even touch some evangelical families who understand that there can be complications in the efforts of childbirth. So I believe that that may be the defining difference, more so than maybe a President Barack Obama.
All right, Timothy, really quick now before we go. Pennsylvania has already started its early voting. How is that playing into the party's strategies, both Republican and Democrat?
I think it's playing heavily into the party strategy, because both are urging their voters to vote early. If you recall, last week, Elon Musk literally was giving instructions to voters on how to make certain that they vote early. This is the richest man in the world. And by the way, he has the largest Twitter or X following. So I think what we're going to see more than in the past, where Democrats relied more upon get out to vote, it was called GOTV. I think we're seeing a surge in Republicans seeking a new wave of voters coming into the booth on their behalf. However, with that being said, I'm being told that the Harris Walsh campaign has a better on the ground a strategy as well as boots on the ground, whereas the Trump Vance campaign is relying on third parties to actually conduct their state by state on the ground. That again could be an edge for the Harris Walsh campaign.
Absolutely. Get out the vote. I mean, a democracy doesn't work if its people doesn't vote, right? Timothy Allen Simon, Republican strategist, thank you for joining us today. Coming up, a Florida County Commissioner confirms that 6 residents are dead in his area following Hurricane Milton.
Yes, Governor Ron DeSantis warned people to remain vigilant and be aware of hazards like downed power lines. We have more on the hurricane after the break.
Come to the Mathis Design Studio, the premier destination for designer furniture. See the latest trends from top brands with heirloom quality pieces for every room in your house. Whether you're redecorating a single room or furnishing an entire home, we have the styles you'll love. Plus, enjoy fast, complimentary delivery. Visit us now for exclusive discounts and let us help make your dream home a reality for less than you ever imagined at the Mathis Design Studio.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're gonna benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
Welcome back. At least 16 people have been killed by Hurricane Milton after the storm made landfall in Florida Wednesday night.
Florida residents are now cleaning up, and searching and rescuing are underway. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says first responders have rescued 1,000 people.
We have provided, or in the process of providing, 8 light towers, 2 message boards, and 2 forklifts, thousands of bottles of water for Baptist Field Kitchen, 16 bypass pumps needed to pump wastewater at lift stations damaged by the storm, and then thousands of liters of water delivered to Campbell Park Elementary to ensure water availability for the sheltered residents and staff.
The death toll includes those killed by tornadoes, downed trees, and downed power lines. Milton has weakened to a post-tropical cyclone and is expected to further weaken.
Key West and Port Miami have reopened, while St. Petersburg and Fort Myers ports remain closed. Orlando International Airport and Tampa International Airport have reopened. Sarasota Bradenton International Airport remains closed today. According to PowerOutage.us, more than 2.4 million customers across the state are still without power.
Next, a closer look at satellite images from different parts of Florida, both before and after Hurricane Milton. As you can see there, the Tropicana field in St. Petersburg is intact, but afterwards its roof was torn apart. Also in St. Petersburg, the hangars at Albert Whitted Airport were destroyed after the deadly storm. Carlisle Yacht Club in Clearwater, plus a residential area, that was inundated. I mean, look at that. The same for the streets on St. Armand's Key in Sarasota, as well as Holmes Beach, Anna Maria Island in Manatee County. The buildings and roofs in Siesta Key, Sarasota County suffered severe damage and flooding. The same with the Waterway Condominium Association building in Cortez. Also in Cortez, the Cortez Village and its coastal businesses used to be in good condition, but they suffered roof damage and there's debris all around. The greenhouses in Cortez were also not spared. Many were destroyed after the storm. I mean, the devastation, absolutely unbelievable.
I know.
The St. Lucie County Commissioner confirmed that 6 residents are unfortunately dead after Hurricane Milton tore through the area.
Heavy rain and tornadoes left a trail of destruction in parts of southern Florida before the storm even made landfall.
Yeah, I've been here since 1983 and I've never seen anything like it. We had, according to FEMA, 12 confirmed tornadoes hit throughout the county, and literally from one end to the other. They were hitting down on our Becker Road area, which is on the southern. They hit around the airport, which is right in the middle of the county, and where the worst damage is in the northern part in the Lakewood Park area. It went through a golf course community and then through the trailer park where the deaths occurred, and not most of the damage, but a lot of damage occurred.
Florida residents and officials continue to assess widespread damage.
Governor Ron DeSantis warned people to remain vigilant and be aware of hazards like downed power lines.
A sheriff from Hillsborough County, Florida, is checking the situation of flooding brought on by Hurricane Milton. He's describing to a CNN reporter their efforts to rescue and give advice to local residents.
We're a mile away from the Alafai River, and this water is at least 6 feet deep, and it's still rising. We just did a rescue from that house over here to the left, right here, the grayish one. Yeah. The water's just, great job, the house is built up, but the water's just getting ready to get into the house. We got flagged down from the owner saying, can you please help me, help me. Went over there and rescued her 6 cats and her 7 birds. This is early. This is just starting to come into play here. So we're in the helicopter now assessing how widespread this damage is and trying to predict where the water's going to crest. We're at 6 feet deep. We have some people who believe that it might get as high as 20 feet. The water will come in, the water will leave, and then these poor people will have to deal with the aftermath. Once again, what's next steps forward for them? They've lost their cars, they've lost their homes. But at the end of the day, I get it. It's material items. We'll rescue all the pets and keep them and themselves safe. But it's hard for me not to imagine the heartbreak that comes along with next steps. Where do those people go that don't have family? They don't have friends.
Different from Hurricane Helene's rescue is that there might be alligators in the water in Florida.
Oh my, yes, it's pretty dangerous. The sheriff also mentioned that the boat encountered someone's fence underwater. He's urging people to leave as the water might rise.
Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm addressed ongoing power outages in Florida today in the aftermath of Hurricane Milton.
Yes, she said the situation was improving after 3.4 million residents were left without power.
A million people have been restored already. And can I just say, John, this is really due to the incredible efforts of not just the Florida utilities, but the incredible surge of workers that have come from 40 states and Canada all around to come to the aid of Floridians. As people are returning back to their homes, etc., they may be returning back to places where the stations are also without power, right? In the next couple of days, this will smooth out, but these are spot outages because of the power shut off. And then before the hurricane, there was a lot of topping off and filling of gas tanks so that those stations weren't used to having that much, that many customers, that much need for gas. So the gas is there, it's in the system. They're at terminals, for example, at the Port of Tampa, and trucks need to get it out of the Port of Tampa, but the Port of Tampa right now is still without power and is closed down. So this is happening, as you can tell from a million people already having been restored. Florida is expert at this, and so over the next couple of days, this will all straighten out. Because Florida's had so much experience with hurricanes, they have done an unbelievable job of undergrounding a lot of their distribution lines, their grid. And 40% of the wires now are undergrounded. Orlando, Disney World is opening up today. They didn't lose power because they had hardened their grid.
As of last night, over 93,000 Georgia and North Carolina residents were without power in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Now, that storm killed more than 200 people across 6 states.
The Category 4 was the deadliest hurricane to hit the mainland U.S. since Hurricane Katrina. The 2005 Category 3 storm killed nearly 1,400 people.
A U.S. Coast Guard crew rescued a man clinging to a cooler. The rescue happened about 30 miles off Longboat Key, Florida, and more than 12 hours after Hurricane Milton had made landfall nearby. The boat owner reported Wednesday afternoon that the captain had not checked in after going out for repairs in the morning. The Coast Guard was able to radio contact the captain, and they instructed him to wear a life jacket and stay with the boat's emergency beacon. But then they lost communication, and the Coast Guard sent out a search party. They found and rescued the captain 8 hours later. He likely survived 75 to 90 miles per hour winds and 20 to 25 foot seas overnight. Incredible. He was flown to Tampa General Hospital. 2 major hurricanes have hit the southeast in recent weeks, and with less than a month until Election Day, some groups were pushing to give voters more time to register, but federal judges have declined their requests to extend these deadlines in Florida and Georgia.
Civil rights groups were already putting pressure on states impacted by Hurricane Helene when Milton began to move towards Florida. Their demand: reopen voter registration as the states recover from storm damage. But U.S. District Judge Eleanor Ross said Thursday in Atlanta the request to push the deadline lacked clarity. Specifically, she said it did not detail how specific individuals had been harmed. She said she had not heard from anyone who could not register to vote before the deadline. She ruled not to reopen registration, saying, quote, "Harms to the state's interests outweighs the interests of the plaintiffs." These harms, according to lawyers for Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, would be the administrative burden on the state's election officials. In Florida, U.S. District Judge Robert Hinckley declined a similar request. Here, the League of Women Voters of Florida and the Florida NAACP said the registration deadline of October 7th fell in between 2 life-threatening obstacles, Hurricanes Helene and Milton. They argued some residents had to choose between safety and signing up to vote. On Monday, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said there was nothing stopping voters from registering before the deadline later that day. Hurricane Milton made landfall Wednesday night. Lawyers for the group seeking an extension wrote earlier in court papers denying an extension would deprive voters of their fundamental rights. They argued voters couldn't register because of the threats to their safety and the shutdown of government offices, roads, internet, and postal service in the time leading up to Milton's landfall.
Up next, 2 workers killed in a chemical leak accident at a Houston area oil refinery. Nearly 3 dozen others were either transported to hospitals or treated on site. Find out more after the break.
And a hefty $800,000 penalty potentially awaits a California energy company executive. The Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against him for allegedly dodging tariffs on Chinese solar panels. Stay tuned for that.
Hey everyone, it's me, Sebastian, and it is a beautiful day today. We have so much to be grateful for, so just remember, if you see someone without a smile, give them one of yours. I just love inspiring people to be the best they can be, and the reason I'm able to inspire so many people is because people like you who inspire me with your support of Shriners Hospitals for Children. Since I was little, I've broken 100 bones, and I've had 19 surgeries. Shriners Hospitals for Children was with me every step of the way. But more than that, they've given me the confidence to know I can do whatever I set my mind to. Like right now, I've set my mind to sharing my smile with you. Did you get it?
Because of people like you, I can play the violin.
I can play piano.
I can understand.
The help I get is only possible because of caring people like you who pick up the phone and call the number on your screen to make your monthly gift.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you. and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Kids like me. And me.
And me.
And me. So what are you waiting for? You can inspire kids like me by visiting loveshriners.org. After all, you can't help everyone, but you can help someone. So let's go!
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving. Join me and bring a smile to the world with your monthly gift today.
Please call now. If operators are busy, please call again or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Join me and bring a smile to the world.
At NativePath, we're driven to improve the lives of people by providing highly effective supplements that solve common health problems and support optimal health. This is what being on the path is all about. Visit getnativepath.com/NTD for your special offer.
For those who cherish tradition and stand for the values that built this great nation, Republican Red Winery proudly embodies the spirit of American greatness. Let's raise a glass to forging our own future, building a bigger, better, and stronger America. The best is yet to come.
The U.S. Navy has been using up interceptors fighting in the Middle East. Twice the U.S. has been called on to defend Israel from Iranian ballistic missile attacks and have used SM-3 interceptors to defeat the incoming threats. But now naval leaders and defense analysts are sounding the alarm over depleted weaponry. Weaponry that would be critical to counter threats in the Pacific from the Chinese Communist Party, which is ramping up aggression. Joining us now to discuss is retired Army Colonel John Mills. He's also a senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy. John, thanks for joining us today. First off, tell us about the current state of U.S. naval inventory when it comes to these critical weapons.
Well, thank you, Kerry. Essentially, we have been engaged in different situations, such as the Middle East, that have been consuming inventory that, frankly, over a number of years, we were buying sporadically, and erratically. It is very hard for the defense industrial base to produce, where, let's take Tomahawk. We're buying 0 Tomahawk 1 year, 50 the next year, 20 the next year, and it's like the economically viable number per year is like 70. So the government is all over the map on quantities they are buying. And since this year, with the April shootout to protect Israel, we had it again here with the Houthis. We have just been burning through our inventory. We knew 2 years ago, almost 3 years ago, with the start of the Ukraine war, that this was a critical issue, and we just have not spun up our arsenal of democracy 2.0 yet.
Yes, it's alarming the way you're describing it. According to a Business Insider report and others, there aren't sufficient plans to replace some of these weapons, as you mentioned, like the SM-3 interceptors. So, John, what is the process for getting weapons like this replenished? Does it land with Congress, and is it a funding issue?
It's a planning issue with the executive branch, the Department of Defense. Their projections are horrible. It's just erratic, okay? It is a congressional issue. We need proper funding. It's a defense industrial base. We have to create new plants. New plants are infrastructure that are not priced into the order price of the SM-3 or SM-6 or Tomahawk or Harpoon. This is a real challenge. SM-3 and SM-6, their final assembly is at the facility south of Tucson. That's the Raytheon plant south of Tucson. Lots of ground there. They can build new facilities, but there's no movement on expanding the square footage of new buildings. That's what we need. The workforce is difficult, and the long lead time on the subcomponents is literally years, a lot of dependence on microelectronics, on the all-important chips. This is years of advanced planning to do final assembly.
Yeah, you mentioned Raytheon and other defense contractors. Is this a problem of coordination between the private sector and the U.S. government, signaling that these investments are coming and that they should take on these long-term projects?
Well, everybody wants to make a villain of somebody in this scenario. There's plenty of villainy to go around. But bottom line, we can't spin up the arsenal of democracy 2.0 without signed contracts. Vendors are not going to expend and build new facilities and hire new people if there aren't signed contracts. There is a significant lag. There's lots of talk. What they need are signed contracts. This is a serious issue, and we have to look at our shipyards are in a horrible state. We are not pricing that into the acquisition of ships. We need new facilities, which might call for government-built, government-created, contractor-operated. These are called GOCOs, where the government spends the money to build the plant. A contractor then competes to operate the plant. This actually works quite effectively. Raytheon, that's plant 40. It's plant 44. Excuse me. That's actually a government-owned plant. It traces back to World War II. We need to reinvigorate that whole concept of government-built, government-owned, contractor-operated, and also co-production with key partners like Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, Israel.
Yes, you're describing moving the red tape aside to get the job done because these projects are very capital intensive. As we move to the Chinese Communist Party and their piece of this play, its aggression for so many years in the South China Sea and in India, et cetera, what plans and what inventory does the U.S. have in place in case of a direct conflict? Worst case scenario, of course.
Well, we have National War Reserve of the different stocks, but the critical missiles are SM-3, SM-6, the reliable, I mean, it's old, but it's reliable, Tomahawk, the Stinger surface-to-air missile, the Patriot surface-to-air missile. We're trying to bring new variants of hypersonics, and that's like the SM-6. The Army has versions of hypersonics also. But the Army has a new system called the Typhoon, which takes the Navy SM-6 and Tomahawk, very effective. We're rotating it through the Philippines, the north end of the Philippines, the south end of the of Japanese islands, Ishigaki, which you can see right over the horizon from Suwao and Ilan County in Taiwan. And the first of 200 Harpoon, or the first 200 Harpoon Block 2s just arrived in Taiwan. So that gives Taiwan additional missile inventory to deter and defeat, along with they have well over 1,000 easily missiles already that are a deterrence to any Chinese move.
John, can you put that in context? How does the U.S. inventory and arsenal compare with the CCPs?
Well, we've been chewing it up, frankly. We have a lot of good, reliable missiles. The SM-3, SM-6 worked magnificently in the defense of Israel and against the Houthis. It's going to be a missile shootout, though. Now the War Reserve inventories, that's classified. I'm no longer read on. I don't know the inventories of these things anymore, but I'm pretty sure we started to get into situations where we had to get presidential authority to go below War Reserve. So it is concerning, but just the appearance of the Typhoon system at the north end of the Philippines, the Japanese islands just offshore from Taiwan, it provides deterrence. It provides uncertainty toward China. And also when Taiwan has additional Harpoon, the old reliable Harpoon, which is very effective, it will be very effective if Taiwanese and the Americans and the allies have to use them. So our inventory has probably been really chewed up. It's gone down. It takes years to plan for, again, lots of microcircuitry. This is 2 to 3 year lead time to get all the components in place to do final assembly. So I'm just hoping and praying we can move faster on the Arsenal of Democracy 2.0.
John, what about the election? Are you hearing this issue being brought up enough?
No, not at all. This is almost zero attention is being paid to this situation. And even although I have grave concerns, and many have grave concerns with the Harris, Biden, Obama team, it is clear that there are some national security professionals in the administration that are, I don't want to say freaking out, but doing their best to do something to make things happen. Kurt Campbell, he just signed a historic statement with the European Union that left out one China. Huge, historic. We've almost heard nothing about this. It essentially changed the whole dynamic because the U.S. and the EU are now very strongly in supportive of Taiwan, and they left out the pandering one China statement that in the year 2024 makes simply no sense.
John, as we finish up, what type of comprehensive plan and policy do you think should be adopted by the next administration and Congress to sufficiently get prepared for all of this?
There should be a 5-year comprehensive plan to build up inventories, build up government-owned factories that will be operated by vendors who compete to most efficiently operate those facilities, and goals that we meet. We have to have immediate goals, near-term goals, and longer-term goals. But within 5 years, we need to build up a massive inventory of missiles, greatly increase our aircraft production, our ship production and repair infrastructure. And I think the answer, it has to be government investment. This is one place where I think government investment has to be utilized. I know we have lots of government overspending, debt. I think this is one where we have to rebuild the production infrastructure, because the private sector production infrastructure doesn't exist anymore. That's how we did it in 1937, 1938, 1939. We don't have a vibrant civilian manufacturing economy anymore. And that's part of the equation. That has to be brought back with targeted capital gains cuts and a focus on cutting regulations to make it easier to onshore production.
Well, we appreciate you breaking down this important topic. Retired Army Colonel John Mills, he's also a senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Kerry.
Moving on now, Secretary of State Antony Blinken reaffirmed today Washington's commitment to supporting Southeast Asian countries. Now, he said the United States' focus has remained intensely on the Indo-Pacific region, with an eye on China's aggressive activities in the South China Sea and around Taiwan.
It's because it's so critical to our own future, to the lives and livelihoods of Americans. So, given that, it's my belief that that basic approach will continue, irrespective of who's president.
We remain concerned about China's increasingly dangerous and unlawful actions in the South and East China Seas, which have injured people, harmed vessels from ASEAN nations, and contradict commitments to peaceful resolution of disputes. The United States will continue to support freedom of navigation and freedom of overflight in the Indo-Pacific.
Blinken spoke at the summit of Southeast Asian leaders from ASEAN. Now, that is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Some of these countries have territorial disputes with China, which have resulted in violence. On the other hand, they also have close trade relations with China. During this week's summit in Laos, China nearly completed its free trade agreement with these countries, while the U.S. made little progress in this area. Now, Russia today strengthening its ties with the Iranian regime. Now, that's amid concerns over Iran aiding Moscow in the Ukraine war and rising tensions in the Middle East.
NTD's international correspondent Arian Pazdar has the latest, starting with an update on the battlefield.
Ukrainian officials say at least 4 people are dead after a Russian attack on Friday. It's the latest attack on Ukraine's southern Odessa region. The area has been coming under fire throughout the week. At least 10 people are reported wounded after Friday's attack. And Russian President Vladimir Putin said this while meeting the president of the Iranian regime on Friday.
Relations with Iran are a priority for us.
Moscow and Tehran signed a $1.7 billion deal for Iran to export drones to Russia after the Ukraine conflict started. At the same time, concerns are growing over rising tensions between Israel and Iran. Also, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky meeting Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz on Friday. Zelensky once again advocated for what he calls a victory plan.
Today, I will present the plan to Olaf on how, in our view, to force Russia to end this war. How to end this war, hopefully no later than in 2025.
Zelensky added that he hopes allies won't cut funding as it's crucial to win the conflict. Arian Pastar, NTD News.
A chemical leak at an oil refinery in Texas killed 2 workers and injured several others yesterday. The accident prompted shelter-in-place orders for residents across the city. The leak happened at around 4:20 p.m., sending hydrogen sulfide seeping into the air at the plant. Hydrogen sulfide is a colorless and potentially toxic gas. It is commonly used in oil and gas refining and has a rotten egg smell. 2 bodies were found at the scene, and at least 35 others were treated either on site or brought to a medical facility. The incident happened at a Mexico-based oil company named Pemex. The company said that operations were halted once the leak was detected. The Department of Justice is suing a company executive for evading tariffs on Chinese solar panels. The company Eco Solargy imported solar panels into the United States. Its executive, Paul Bakum, is accused of making false statements to customs officials to evade tariffs. The tariffs are meant to counter China's oversupply and dumping practices. Examples include solar cells that were classified as LED lights, or the country of origin was labeled as Turkey instead of China. The DOJ seeks more than $1 million to recover lost revenue in import duties and civil penalties.
When we come back, NTD's 7th International Piano Competition is coming to New York, and pianists are preparing to compete for the top spot. This year's competition will add a new category.
大提琴不仅仅是一件乐器，它是有生命、有感情的，需要我们精心的照顾。往往我们一个小小的动作，可能都会对人情绪产生微妙的影响。天音的品牌是福星，我们对于传统的理念很荣幸被神韵艺术团选为指定供应商。时间是酿造音色的不可替代的陪伴。我跟大提琴已经有60多年的友情了，每一把琴都有它自己的个性，熟悉它，才能真正发挥它的潜力。所以，我希望给你的每一把琴，都是首先我所信任的。
Is deep-sea fish oil really healthy?
Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3.
Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals, especially vitamins A, D, E, calcium, and iron. With natural processing and no harmful chemical additives, it has more than 90% concentration of omegas 3, 6, 7, and 9. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritang omega-3 does not smell of fish and contains no pollutants, so both adults and children can safely and easily consume it over a long period of time. Puritang green vegetable omega-3, greener, healthier, and more effective. Visit puritang.com to learn more.
Thanks for staying with us. The 7th NTD International Piano Competition is coming to New York City next week, bringing in international piano masters from all around the world. And while in the Big Apple, they'll be showcasing their skills and to compete for a shot at the top award. Let's take a look.
The NTD International Piano Competition is one in a series of international cultural and arts events sponsored by NTD Television. The mission of the competition is to showcase the glory of piano music from the Baroque, Classical, and Romantic eras, and to promote traditional arts of pure authenticity, goodness, and beauty.
Not long ago it was COVID-19, and now the war hasn't stopped yet. So everyone's looking for a kind of hope. Music is wise, powerful, and healing, especially good music. For our contestants, the first thing they should think about is how to be a good person, to be humble before the gods. And then they can be a good pianist and bring classical music to the world.
The competition will feature a designated piece adapted from the work of the artistic director of Shenyang Performing Arts. The piece combines the essence of Eastern and Western classical music. It draws inspiration from ancient Chinese melodies and is brought to life with Western instruments. Semi-final competitors will have a chance to compete for the Best Rendition Award.
The contestants come from many countries around the world, and they are of a very high standard. They come from Europe, Asia, the United States, and Canada, and we're looking forward to seeing them perform very well here.
There will be 6 days of competition, from October 14th through the 19th. Winners will be selected in a total of 6 award categories. The semifinal and final rounds of the competition will be broadcast live from the Kaufman Music Center in New York City. NTD News, New York.
Coming up, how effective are TikTok's time limit tools? A leaked document tells what the platform's executives say about it. We'll have that and more after the break.
No young person should ever have to worry about having a safe place to sleep at night, or a warm meal to eat, or whether anyone cares about them.
I grew up in poverty, and I became physically homeless right after I turned 16.
I didn't have anywhere to sleep, and I didn't really have friends or family that could support me.
To be homeless as a teen, I didn't ask for that.
1 in 10 young adults will experience a form of homelessness this year, and that's unacceptable. But the good news is there is an organization making a big difference, Covenant House.
For the young people who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations, Covenant House is there providing safety, hope, and a brighter future. Call or go online now. For a gift of only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can provide hot meals, safe shelter, medical care, and love.
For over 50 years, Covenant House has been helping youth in crisis and giving them the support and tools they need to succeed in life.
Without the Covenant House, I honestly could not tell you where I would be today.
Call or go online right now to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month. With your monthly donation, you'll receive this soft, comforting blanket as a reminder of the warmth and safety your gift will provide a young person tonight.
I would not be here today if it weren't for the kindness of strangers, people who donated to Covenant House so that they could support me when I couldn't support myself.
I have no words to express how Covenant House changed my life.
Your monthly gift is urgently needed to reach young people in communities like yours who didn't ask to be put in unthinkable situations.
Your support makes the work of Covenant House possible.
Call or go online to safeplacetosleep.org with your gift of just $19 a month.
Imagine a coffee that cares for your health. Expertly fermented with a 50-enzyme complex to enhance flavor and remove bitterness. Small batch roasted to a decadent medium dark, resulting in a brew that is gentle on digestion, low acid, and up to 90% less caffeine than regular coffee. Try America's first enzyme fermented coffee today.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Fiona G.
And I'm Carrie Dunst.
At least 16 people are dead in Florida from tornadoes and fallen trees caused by Hurricane Milton.
The longtime resident says he's never experienced a storm like it. Details on the damage caused by the powerful storm.
Former President Trump had a rally in Colorado, and he will be going to Nevada later tonight. And Vice President Kamala Harris has a campaign event in Scottsdale, Arizona later this afternoon.
There are 36 million registered Hispanic voters, the largest minority in the U.S. How Hispanics vote could decide the results of the general election.
A chemical leak at an oil refinery in Texas kills 2 workers. Several others were injured. How this impacts the local community.
How effective are TikTok's time limit tools? A leaked document tells what the platform executives say about it.
NTD's 7th International Piano Competition is coming to Manhattan, New York, and pianists are preparing to compete for the top spot. This year's competition adds a new category.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
At least 16 people have been killed by Hurricane Milton after the storm made landfall in Florida Wednesday night.
Yes, Florida residents are now cleaning up and searching and doing search and rescue efforts. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says first responders have rescued 1,000 people.
We have provided or in the process of providing 8 light towers, 2 message boards, and 2 forklifts, thousands of bottles of water for Baptist Field Kitchen, 16 bypass pumps needed to pump wastewater at lift stations damaged by the storm, and then thousands of liters of water delivered to Campbell Park Elementary to ensure water availability for the sheltered residents and staff.
The death toll includes those killed by tornadoes, downed trees, and downed power lines. Milton has weakened to a post-tropical cyclone and is expected to further weaken.
Key West and Port Miami have reopened, while St. Petersburg and Fort Myers ports remain closed. Orlando International Airport and Tampa International Airport have reopened. Sarasota Bradenton International Airport remains closed today. According to PowerOutage.us, more than 2.4 million customers across the state are still without power.
And next, a closer look at satellite images from different parts of Florida, both before and after Hurricane Milton. First up there, you can see the Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg intact, but then after the storm, its roof was torn apart. Also in St. Petersburg, the hangars at Albert Whitted Airport were destroyed after the deadly storm. Carluel Yacht Club in Clearwater, plus a residential area there, were also inundated. The same for the streets on St. Armand's Key in Sarasota, as well as Holmes Beach, Anna Maria Island in Manatee County, also flooded. The buildings and roofs in Siesta Key, Sarasota County suffered severe damage and flooding. The same happened with the Waterway Condominium Association building in Cortez. Also in Cortez, the Cortez Village and its coastal businesses used to be in good condition, but then they suffered roof damage and there's debris all around. The greenhouses in Cortez were also not spared. Many were destroyed after the storm. The St. Lucie County Commissioner confirmed that 6 residents are dead after Hurricane Milton tore through that area.
Yes, heavy rain and tornadoes left a trail of destruction in parts of southern Florida before the storm even made landfall.
Yeah, I've been here since 1983 and I've never seen anything like it. We had, according to FEMA, 12 confirmed tornadoes hit throughout the county, and literally from one end to the other. They were hitting down on our Becker Road area, which is on the southern. They hit around the airport, which is right in the middle of the county, and where the worst damage is in the northern part in the Lakewood Park area. Went through a golf course community and then through the trailer park where the deaths occurred, and not most of the damage, but a lot of damage occurred.
Florida residents and officials continue to assess widespread damage.
Governor Ron DeSantis warned people to remain vigilant and be aware of hazards like downed power lines.
Speaking of Governor Ron DeSantis, he is now holding a presser at Englewood, so let's take a look.
Stations where we have the ability to connect to that generator or that station and provide that resource. So again, as the governor said, we're going to be available to do that. If a station has the ability to take a generator, reach out to us, let us know. That's done through the Florida Petroleum Marketers Association, where we also monitor where the fuel or what the fuel status is at each station. We continue to work with FEMA, as the governor said, trying to get something centered around the debris issue. We're trying to figure out how we bring more people in to the state of Florida so we can incentivize them to come here. Again, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for some dump truck driver or hauler to come all the way from California or the Midwest if they are going to be working for a fixed rate of pay. It costs money to move their business across the state of Florida, but we're certainly going to work on that with FEMA, and we got some ideas of how we can get that done. But hopefully we'll be able to make an announcement maybe as soon as tomorrow on what their plan is and how they're going to help us get that reimbursed. So again, they're committed to it. We've said that before. Housing is another one. People are going to ask, how can I get a travel trailer? What can I do about that? We have submitted the expedited disaster declaration request, where we have asked for transitional sheltering assistance, which is also referred to as TSA through the FEMA side of the house. So we're looking forward to the president giving us that declaration and then turning those programs on just as fast as we possibly can. If you have been impacted, you're going to need a travel trailer, you're going to need something like that. Make sure you go to 1-833-GET-HOPE, call 1-833-GET-HOPE, or go to the Hope Florida website so that you can go ahead and start registering now to receive a travel trailer or receive some type of other assistance. Governor, thank you for your leadership. I appreciate you.
Okay, any questions? Okay, so we're continuing to do that. We are now, how many pods, General?
30 active right now.
Okay, so points of distribution, there are 30 pods active, and how many more online, you think, coming soon?
We have capacity for up to 100.
Yeah, so probably aren't going to have a demand for that many, but in areas where, the power's still coming on or not on yet, that'll give some food, some water. We've surged that to Charlotte County, Sarasota, some other areas in particular. So those pods are active. Some more may be coming online. We'll probably be out highlighting some of the pods tomorrow as we get going on this. And then we're continuing just to work with everybody to restore services because we know that it's important. But everything I've heard from the utilities, because they have so many people, we had the 50,000 linemen, the power restoration, given that you had 4 million plus out, is going to be more rapid than I think any similar outage in the history of these hurricanes. So I know it's difficult if you're even without power for a day. It's not easy. People want to get back connected, but people are working very hard on this, working around the clock, and I think you're going to see a lot of progress soon. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you guys, everybody. We're back.
That they're just then live. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis really talking more about the aftermath of Hurricane Milton and what the state is doing to help its people.
Indeed, he's talking about the effort to restore power as well as sheltering assistance that's going to be coming from the national government. The phone number for those who need it is 833-GET-HOPE or Florida Hope website.
Absolutely. Thank you, Carrie, for that. If anyone out there needs help, please reach out to your local authorities. Stay safe. And we are still staying on the topic of the hurricane. A sheriff from Hillsborough County, Florida, is checking the situation of flooding brought on by the hurricane. He's describing to a CNN reporter that their rescue efforts and giving advice to local residents and how it's going.
We're a mile away from the Alafai River, and this water is at least 6 feet deep, and it's still rising. We just did a rescue from that house over here to the left, right here, the grayish one. Yeah. The water's just, great job, the house is built up, but the water's just getting ready to get into the house. We got flagged down from the owner saying, can you please help me, help me. Went over there and rescued her 6 cats and her 7 birds. This is early. This is just starting to come into play here. So we're in the helicopter now assessing how widespread this damage is and trying to predict where the water's going to crest. We're at 6 feet deep. We have some people who believe that it might get as high as 20 feet. The water will come in, the water will leave, and then these poor people will have to deal with the aftermath. Once again, what's next steps forward for them? They've lost their cars, they've lost their homes. But at the end of the day, I get it, it's material items. We'll rescue all the pets and keep them and themselves safe. But it's hard for me not to imagine the heartbreak that comes along with next steps. Where do those people go that don't have family? They don't have friends.
Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm addressed ongoing power outages in Florida today, also caused by Hurricane Milton.
Yes, she said the situation was improving after 3.4 million residents were left without power.
Million people have been restored already. And can I just say, John, this is really due to the incredible efforts of not just the Florida utilities, but the incredible surge of workers that have come from 40 states and Canada all around to come to the aid of Floridians. As people are returning back to their homes, etc., they may be returning back to places where the stations are also without power, right? In the next couple of days, this will smooth out, but these are spot outages because of the power shut off. And then before the hurricane, there was a lot of topping off and filling of gas tanks so that those stations weren't used to having that much, that many customers, that much need for gas. So the gas is there, it's in the system. They're at terminals, for example, at the Port of Tampa, and trucks need to get it out of the Port of Tampa, but the Port of Tampa right now is still without power and is closed down. So this is happening, as you can tell from a million people already having been restored. Florida is expert at this, and so over the next couple of days, this will all straighten out. Because Florida's had so much experience with hurricanes, they have done an unbelievable job of undergrounding a lot of their distribution lines, their grid. And 40% of the wires now are undergrounded. Orlando, Disney World is opening up today. They didn't lose power because they had hardened their grid.
As of last night, over 93,000 Georgia and North Carolina residents were without power in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Now, that storm killed more than 200 people across 6 states.
The Category 4 was the deadliest hurricane to hit the mainland U.S. since Hurricane Katrina. The 2005 Category 3 storm killed nearly 1,400 people. A number of Florida residents were returning to their homes yesterday after Hurricane Milton battered the state. Many surveyed the devastation following the second major hurricane in 2 weeks. NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the locals who rode out the storm.
Natasha Ducre and her family of 7 stayed at a government shelter as Hurricane Milton tore through their community. They received bad news as they waited for the storm to pass.
As we were there, he was talking to one of his friends, and they was telling him, I see your roof lifting up. It wasn't gone then. Then we got another text message say, your roof gone.
The Palmetto resident got emotional when she returned to find their home destroyed.
You don't think this is going to happen. You don't think somebody's going to come and just rip away your whole life. You don't think about that. So this is home, and it's gone. Home is gone. So home ain't home no more. So yeah, I'm very emotional.
Tampa resident Joseph Malinowski rode out the hurricane on his boat. He didn't understand what all the fuss was about.
Plan is to sit down, and hunker down. I'm going to be fine. I mean, this is a boat. It's meant to be on water, and the water's going to surge. It's not a tsunami. It's not going to come in and come over the side and capsize my boat.
Malinowski's determination to stay on his boat has gone viral online. The internet is calling him Lieutenant Dan in reference to the character from the movie Forrest Gump.
It was a little scary. It's not scary, but a little windy at times. But we did all right. It was uneventful. Actually, this wasn't as bad as Helena was. Helena was worse than that was.
Gerald Gilchrist had second thoughts after weathering the storm in his mobile home.
Well, it was an experience that only thing I got left in my life. If it was going to go, I was going to go too. So I was trying to protect it, But if I had to do it again, I don't think I would.
The 77-year-old described what he felt as Milton tore through his St. Petersburg neighborhood.
When it came and hit the side of the trailers, it sounded like an aircraft carrier. I mean, not a carrier, but a plane coming in. And I mean, it just shook the whole building.
Irish tourist Robert Falvey said the hurricane didn't seem so severe at first, but that quickly changed.
So like from 10 o'clock on, it was bad, but it wasn't too bad. I think I went to sleep around 12:30. It wasn't so bad. But then 2 o'clock, it came in a wave, and then 4:30 really just let loose. You could hear it because the direction changed, so the eye had moved.
Scottish tourist Anne Hughes was somewhat worried, but she was able to cope.
When I woke up during the night, the windows were shaking, and the wind was really, really high. So for a minute or two, I was a wee bit scared. So apart from that, we were fine, because we get really bad weather where we come from.
Milton may have passed, but it could be weeks before officials get the full picture of the damage left in the storm's wake. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
A U.S. Coast Guard crew rescued a man clinging to a cooler. The rescue happened about 30 miles off Longboat Key, Florida, and more than 12 hours after Hurricane Milton made landfall nearby. The boat owner reported Wednesday afternoon that the captain had not checked in after going out for repairs in the morning. The Coast Guard was able to radio contact the captain, and they instructed him to wear a life jacket and stay with the boat's emergency beacon. But they then lost communication, and the Coast Guard sent out a search party. They found and rescued the captain 8 hours later. He likely survived 75 to 90 miles per hour winds and 20 to 25-foot seas overnight. He was flown to Tampa General Hospital. In North Carolina, election officials say that early voting will be undisrupted following devastation from Hurricane Helene. Counties affected by the storm are all expected to open polling stations when early voting starts on Thursday, October 17th.
Those who vote by mail or on Election Day have until the end of today to register to vote. Those voting early can register on the same day they vote.
2 major hurricanes have hit the southeast in recent weeks. With less than a month until Election Day, some groups were pushing to give voters more time to register, but federal judges declined their requests to extend these deadlines in Florida and Georgia.
Civil rights groups were already putting pressure on states impacted by Hurricane Helene when Milton began to move towards Florida. Their demand: reopen voter registration as the states recover from storm damage. But U.S. District Judge Eleanor Ross said Thursday in Atlanta the request to push the deadline lacked clarity. Specifically, she said it did not detail how specific individuals had been harmed. She said she had not heard from anyone who could not register to vote before the deadline. She ruled not to reopen registration, saying, quote, "Harms to the state's interests outweighs the interests of the plaintiffs." These harms, according to lawyers for Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, would be the administrative burden on the state's election officials. In Florida, U.S. District Judge Robert Hinckley declined a similar request. Here, the League of Women Voters of Florida and the Florida NAACP said the registration deadline of October 7th fell in between 2 life-threatening obstacles, Hurricanes Helene and Milton. They argued some residents had to choose between safety and signing up to vote. On Monday, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said there was nothing stopping voters from registering before the deadline later that day. Hurricane Milton made landfall Wednesday night. Lawyers for the group seeking an extension wrote earlier in court papers denying an extension would deprive voters of their fundamental rights. They argued voters couldn't register because of the threats to their safety and the shutdown of government offices, roads, internet, and postal service in the time leading up to Milton's landfall.
Coming up, an accidental release reveals what TikTok executives say about the time limit tools on their platform. These documents are linked to a lawsuit against TikTok.
A chemical leak at a Texas oil refinery yesterday left 2 workers dead and several others injured. Residents were ordered to shelter in place. We'll have that and more after the break.
There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And there's chaos all around and threat from below. The wolves surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this little girl remains unmoved.
She's in quite a perilous situation, but she's completely strong and serene, and she's actually meditating. It was very, very well liked because no matter what culture or what sort of walk of life you're from, I think people, they see it and they immediately understand what that energy, what that message is, and they're drawn to it because everybody kind of needs a little bit of that in their own life, of, you know, the steadfast calmness and something to hold on to. It's definitely an inner peace in the midst of something very chaotic, and for a lot of people right now, the whole world is very, very chaotic, so I guess that's another reason why so many people are very drawn to this.
According to ancient Chinese medicine, purslane is considered a medicinal herb and is used to help lower cholesterol, improve vascular functions, and prevent diabetes. Perilla seeds can nourish the lungs and spleen. It is used to treat asthma and improve pulmonary functions. Puritang green vegetable omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds from Hwangmae Mountain in South Korea. It contains over 90% of omega-3, 6, 7, and 9. The highest concentration possible without chemical additives. The soft gel is made of natural seaweed. It is 100% organic and vegan. Both adults and children can take it with peace of mind. Ancient recipes were passed down from heaven to bring prosperity and longevity. Puritang green vegetable omega-3.
Thanks for staying with us. Donald Trump is planning to participate in a town hall hosted by Fox News next week. Now, Fox says that the event will be in Georgia and that the entire audience will be women. The town hall will be taped on Tuesday, but it won't air until Wednesday on the show The Faulkner Focus. The network says the main focus will be on issues impacting women as well as news of the day.
A federal judge has approved the release of redacted evidence in former President Trump's federal election case. Judge Tanya Chutkin ruled that the redactions proposed by prosecutors were appropriate, dismissing Trump's objections. Trump now has 7 days to block the disclosure. His legal team had argued against releasing any part of an appendix to the unsealed brief. Prosecutors allege the evidence shows Trump committed crimes to stay in office after losing the 2020 election. Trump's attorneys haven't said if they'll take further action to stop the release.
Hispanics in the U.S. are the largest voting minority. Republicans have made gains with Hispanic voters in the past 2 elections. Their vote could be the deciding factor in the battleground states this time around. According to Pew Research, there are 65 million Hispanics in the U.S. That is close to 20% of the population. Now, of those 65 million, 36 are registered voters. In every battleground state, the Hispanic population is larger than the gap in between the Democratic and Republican candidates. That is true for the presidential race and also the congressional ones. In the battleground state of Arizona, for example, 25% of registered voters are Hispanic. And in the state of Nevada, it's 20%. Republicans have made gains with the Hispanics in the last 2 elections. And it's also worth noting here that 60% of Hispanic registered voters for this upcoming election are all under the age of 50. largely third and fourth generation Hispanics who view the economy as the most important issue and not identity politics. Burglars broke into two small-town post office locations in South Sacramento County overnight. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Department said that the thieves stole mail-in ballots, laptop computers, and other mail. Employees of the Islington Post Office told authorities the back door of the office was forced open. Inside, burglars pried open the door and stole another laptop and mail. The Sheriff's Department says some of that mail included ballots for the upcoming election. Photos shared by the department show a bent metal doorknob and a lock that was also bent out of shape. A chipped wooden door also appears to be damaged. A postal worker in Ride told the Epic Times that she could not talk about the theft, but said that everyone was okay, thankfully. The Postal Service did not immediately respond to any requests for comment.
A chemical leak at an oil refinery in Texas killed 2 workers and injured several others yesterday. The accident prompted shelter-in-place orders for residents across the city. The leak happened at around 4:20 p.m., sending hydrogen sulfide seeping into the air at the plant. Hydrogen sulfide is a colorless and potentially toxic gas. It's commonly used in oil and gas refining and has a rotten egg smell. 2 bodies were found at the scene, and at least 35 others were treated either on site or brought to a medical facility. The incident happened at a Mexico-based company named Pemex. The company said that operations were halted once the leak was detected.
According to information that was released accidentally, TikTok executives admit time limit tools on their platform don't actually amount to much. Now, tools to limit screen time on TikTok apparently serve little purpose. That's according to mistakenly released unredacted documents regarding the social media giant. The documents were obtained by Kentucky Public Radio and NPR. They're linked to a major lawsuit against TikTok filed by a bipartisan group of 14 attorneys general. In these documents, TikTok executives reportedly discuss potential dangers for teenage users on the video sharing app. The company unveiled time management tools for minors, but a TikTok executive is quoted in the documents as saying that their goal is, quote, not to reduce the time spent on the app. The lawsuit also claimed that TikTok officials knew that this time limit tool reduced daily usage only by 1.5 minutes, yet they did nothing about it.
This information came out after the Kentucky Attorney General's office accidentally filed unredacted versions of its legal findings. The suit alleges the platform has harmed the mental health of young people.
A case involving a Boeing plea deal is back in the spotlight. A federal judge is set to hold a hearing today. The judge will consider objections to the plane maker's agreement to plead guilty to conspiring to defraud regulators. The objections come from relatives of people killed in 2 Boeing 737 MAX crashes. District Judge Reed O'Connor in Texas may decide today whether to accept the plea deal or rule on it later. Boeing finalized the agreement with prosecutors in July. The families of the 346 people who perished in the plane crashes say that the plea agreement is a sweetheart deal. They say it does not go far enough in holding Boeing accountable for the deaths of their loved ones.
Boeing said yesterday that they filed an unfair labor practice charge against a union representing its striking factory workers. It accused the leaders of not bargaining in good faith. The strike by about 33,000 union members is in its 5th week. Boeing said Tuesday it had withdrawn its latest pay offer to the union. That was after 2 days of talks with federal mediators. The union said on Tuesday that Boeing was determined to stick to its offer of a 30% wage increase over 4 years. The union wants 40%. It also wants the restoration of a special pension it agreed to give up in 2014.
Moving on, 12 people who were trapped in a tourist gold mine in Colorado have now been rescued. One person, though, tragically died. The stranded visitors were brought up 4 at a time. Inspectors first ensured the malfunctioning elevator was working properly. None of them were injured. The elevator at the Molly Kathleen gold mine yesterday had a mechanical issue at around 500 feet beneath the surface. A local sheriff said the incident created a severe danger for the participants and 1 person was killed. 12 people were trapped at the bottom of the mine, which is about 1,000 feet beneath the surface. The mine opened in the 1800s and was closed in the 1960s. but still operates tours. Now, the mine's website describes a 1-hour tour in which visitors descend 100 stories into the earth. Moving on now, a Philadelphia man is facing charges after a makeshift explosives lab was allegedly found inside his home last week. Police last Friday went to the home of 27-year-old Evgeny Sadrizlavov after neighbors reported seeing smoke coming from the house. The district attorney's office said 15 pounds of highly volatile explosives were reportedly found in a makeshift laboratory in the basement of his home. The suspect has been charged with arson, weapons of mass destruction, causing catastrophe, and other related charges. He's being held on a $1 million bail and is set to appear in court later this month. Police say that this isn't the first time that this suspect has been arrested for being in possession of explosives. He was actually on probation after pleading guilty to similar charges back in 2020.
2 recent drug busts in California led to the seizure of $1.7 million worth of fentanyl. The first drug bust was on October 3rd, where officers found the illegal drugs concealed inside multiple packages of raw beef. The second was on October 4th, where 120,000 fentanyl-laced pills were discovered during a traffic stop. The state of California says its counter-drug task force has seized $43 million worth of fentanyl since January 2024. A sad day for Slurpee lovers. The 7-Eleven convenience store chain is closing hundreds of locations across North America. The company says it is closing 444 stores that were underperforming or otherwise facing related issues. Those issues include slowing sales, fewer cigarette purchases, and inflation. The move only affects about 3% of 7-Eleven stores, although it is unclear right now which locations will be closing. The chain has more than 13,000 stores across the U.S., Canada, and Mexico.
When we come back, Trump holds a rally in Colorado this afternoon, and then he'll head to Nevada later tonight. We'll have a report to tell you more, so stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. A few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received 2 stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did. So please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now. Join me as a monthly donor today and help save even more lives. Thank you.
New to Medicare? Recently moved or losing coverage? Then let us help break it down for you. First up, we have Medicare Part A. Consider your hospital insurance as your safety net, covering inpatient hospital stays, skilled nursing facilities, hospice care, and some home health care. It's the help for your peace of mind, ensuring that you get the care you may need when you need it. And now let's talk about Medicare Part B, your medical insurance. This is your key to most preventative services, outpatient care and doctor visits, from flu shots to screenings. Part B, you're at the forefront of proactive health care. If you enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan, the plan may provide all of your Medicare Part A and Medicare Part B coverage, and it is designed with you in mind, providing a wide array of coverage options for personalized care. Review your Medicare coverage options, ensuring it aligns with your evolving healthcare needs, from flu shots to screenings. Call 800-939-1759. That's 800-939-1759.
Thanks for staying with us. Around 2 weeks have passed since raging floodwaters and landslides from Hurricane Helene reached western North Carolina. Urban and rural communities were left devastated. They severely damaged homes, roads, and power sources. Now some residents are still stranded and in urgent need of assistance. But through it all, local communities are coming together and helping one another, many led by faith. Now joining us to talk about the community efforts on the ground is Epoch Times reporter Jeff Louderback, who was in western North Carolina earlier this week. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. Starting things off, what did you see down there? What struck you the most when you were there?
Well, I've covered a lot of disasters, and I've been through 2 major tornadoes and 2 major hurricanes myself. And it was something I'd never seen before, this type of destruction in a mountain area. I talked to several people who they never thought that they've had flooding. They've been through flooding. They've been through remnants of hurricanes that come up through the Gulf or the Atlantic. But they've never had anything like this where landslides, mudslides, flooding, the raging waters. It's something and these are people, they live in the Appalachian Mountains. So they're prepared. Homesteading, preparedness is a way of life for them, but even they were caught off guard. And I think pretty much anyone would be caught off guard with the level of destruction.
Absolutely. I don't think anyone is expecting such a huge amount of devastation there. So where do recovery efforts currently stand? I mean, are there still people missing out there?
Yes, that's something that's going to be, unfortunately, they expect to be recovering bodies for the long term. And there's some of these mountain communities that haven't been reached because the roads are wiped away. A couple people I talked to who are leading relief efforts said that this is a one-of-a-kind situation because it's an access disaster. Whereas like usually in a tornado or a hurricane, you don't have roads completely washed away or blocked to this extent. And there's towns that still haven't been reached yet. People are going by mule. Relief groups are going by mule teams, horseback, helicopter, by foot. You can't just send ambulance up there or trucks up there to get supplies and to rescue people. It takes innovation.
Absolutely. It's incredible, these stories that we are hearing from there. Now, interestingly, you've noted in your reporting that faith-based groups and donations from non-residents, those are driving the recovery. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, and that's the inspirational part, because in any disasters bring out the best and the worst of society and of people. And like I live here, I'm a national reporter at the Epoch Times. I live an hour from Cincinnati and Columbus in the Appalachian foothills. I drove to North Carolina, and on my way there was a faith-based group that I know here asked me if I could take a small pallet donated by an Amish family to a church I was interviewing. So I did that, and that church was distributing supplies to congregations in the mountains that were impacted. And that all related to the story, because that's what long-term FEMA government organizations, these people are going to need the funding to recover. But right now, they mentioned, they're Appalachian people. They know the terrain. They're the people who can rescue and recover. They know where to go, what to do. And they're relying on outside groups like church groups, civic groups, people from all over the country delivering it. And, it's important to get it to the right people, which happen to be usually the churches, because they know how to distribute and how to get where it needs to go.
Absolutely, Jeff. Now, expanding on that, you also have learned on the ground that while these communities are wanting more federal assistance, there are many local residents and those from surrounding regions who actually, interestingly feel that they're best equipped to help. I mean, you mentioned horses and mules there. Expand a bit more.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was in Boone, North Carolina, and talked to a pastor at a Baptist church. His name's Seth Norris, and his wife, Stacy. They're leading, they're not the only ones there. It's their church, but their Samaritan's Purse is there. North Carolina Baptist organization is there. They're leading teams to find people who are stuck and get them supplies. They're helping with cleanup. It's important, it's getting cooler, so it's important to, like winter clothes. They're using a lot of chainsaws. Obviously food and water is critical for people. Some people are being rescued still, and it's been almost 2 weeks. So these organizations that know, again, it goes back to them knowing the terrain, and there's no access otherwise. So like a government person from Washington is not going to know what to do, how to get up a side of a mountain that's completely washed away. So these people they talk about how they take care of their own. And so that's what I'm seeing. And so I'm going back from Sunday on Sunday for another week to cover the recovery and also how it's impacting the election. And it's inspiring seeing this. There's a lot of devastation and a lot of sadness because there's more bodies being found than are being reported right now. But the faith-based response, and that's the best and the worst in people, and that represents the best.
So inspiring, Jeff. Now we will circle back to this you going back to there in a moment. But first, I want to touch on another topic you just mentioned there, the election. Right? We've already reported that we're hearing a lot of concern about the devastation impacting voting and this whole election. Based on what you were hearing from the people actually living there, is this a major concern among the residents? What are local officials doing to ensure that voting isn't impacted?
Well, I talked to Rick Austin, who is a lot of people who are in emergency preparedness and prepping know him. He was on Doomsday Preppers. He runs Prepper Camp. He wrote The Secret Garden to Survival. He has a homestead, a fully self-sufficient homestead in the North Carolina mountains. And he is also an election judge. So when I talked to him, I spent a couple hours up at his place, and he was talking about relief and recovery. And he was talking about how, North Carolina 2020 was a state that Donald Trump won by just 1.3%. It's a battleground state. I'm going to be much of October in North Carolina covering the hurricane recovery and also talking to voters across the state, because North Carolina is a state that both Trump and Kamala Harris have to have. So what Rick Austin was saying is that Asheville, they have like 95 approximately voting precincts. They're all gone. Asheville was destroyed. They don't know where people are. They're not necessarily missing as in presumed dead or injured. Some people just they don't have communication yet. So, and people are displaced. So they're all over, like living with relatives. So where are you going to send the ballots, or how are you going to get ballots to people? So yeah, it's going to be interesting. They expect, they don't really know what they're going to do yet. It's in early voting, I believe. I should know that right this moment, but it starts pretty soon. And so that's going to be an issue in North Carolina, and probably, I'm not covering Florida, but I would assume Florida as well.
Absolutely. And now I want to ask about you returning to North Carolina. Tell us a little more. What are you going to be doing there? What do you hope to highlight?
Well, this time around, this past week, I was focusing on, locals helping locals, the relief efforts. I am going to be doing an interview with this organization called the Mountain Mule Packers, and they're leading mule-driven relief efforts. I'm looking for inspirational stories. Like I have a couple dramatic rescue stories that I have lined up, and I'm going to look into cities that haven't really been getting a lot of attention. And I've been relying on social media and seeing like community pages and people are talking about this city and that city. These are little hamlets of like 1,000, 2,000 people on mountainsides haven't been receiving supplies, and I'm going to try to get up in that area. Like this last time, I was able to get access to Chimney Rock and Lake Lure with the sheriff there, who gave me a ride along to see what a lot of people aren't seeing. And I hope to encounter that just to show firsthand what is really going on, instead of relying on what people might think is going on.
So important to get those stories out there, Jeff. We're really looking forward to hearing more from your reporting. Jeff Louderback, reporter with the Epoch Times, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Russia today strengthening ties with the Iranian regime. That's amid concerns over Iran aiding Moscow in the Ukraine war and amid rising tensions in the Middle East.
NTD's international correspondent Arian Pazdar has the latest, starting with an update on the battlefield situation.
Ukrainian officials say at least 4 people are dead after a Russian attack on Friday. It's the latest attack on Ukraine's southern Odessa region. The area has been coming under fire throughout the week. At least 10 people are reported wounded after Friday's attack. And Russian President Vladimir Putin said this while meeting the president of the Iranian regime on Friday.
Relations with Iran are a priority for us.
Moscow and Tehran signed a $1.7 billion deal for Iran to export drones to Russia after the Ukraine conflict started. At the same time, concerns are growing over rising tensions between Israel and Iran. Also, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky meeting Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz on Friday. Zelensky once again advocated for what he calls a victory plan.
Today, I will present the plan to Olaf on how, in our view, to force Russia to end this war. How to end this war, hopefully no later than in 2025.
Zelensky added that he hopes allies won't cut funding, as it's crucial to win the conflict. Arian Pazdar, NTD News.
Lebanese authorities say that at least 22 people are dead and more than 100 are wounded after an Israeli strike.
Rescue operations are now underway in the capital city of Beirut.
The Associated Press reported the overnight strikes mark the deadliest attack on central Beirut in over a year.
The United Nations says an Israeli tank also fired at one of its observation towers. The strike wounded 2 peacekeepers who were hospitalized, and a missile fired from Lebanon killed a man in northern Israel today. AP reports that that was from Thailand, working on a farm in northern Israel.
Secretary of State Antony Blinken reaffirmed today Washington's commitment to supporting Southeast Asian countries. He said the United States' focus has remained intensely on the Indo-Pacific region, with an eye on China's aggressive activities in the South China Sea and around Taiwan.
It's because it's so critical to our own future, to the lives and livelihoods of Americans. So given that, it's my belief that that basic approach will continue, irrespective of who's president.
We remain concerned about China's increasingly dangerous and unlawful actions in the South and East China Seas, which have injured people, harmed vessels from ASEAN nations, and contradict commitments to peaceful resolution of disputes. The United States will continue to support freedom of navigation and freedom of overflight in the Indo-Pacific.
Blinken spoke at the summit of Southeast Asian leaders from ASEAN. That's the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Some of these countries have territorial disputes with China, which have resulted in violence. But on the other hand, they have close trade relationships with China as well. Now, during this week's summit in Laos, China nearly completed its free trade agreement with these countries, while the U.S. made little progress in this area.
The Department of Justice is suing a company executive for evading tariffs on Chinese solar panels. The company EcoSolargy imported solar panels into the United States. Its executive, Paul Bakum, is accused of making false statements to customs officials to evade the tariffs. The tariffs are meant to counter China's oversupply and dumping practices. Examples include solar cells that were classified as LED lights, or the country of origin was labeled as Turkey instead of China. The DOJ seeks more than $1 million to recover lost revenue in import duties and civil penalties.
And now some short headlines from around the world. Russian President Vladimir Putin meeting his Iranian counterpart today. This comes as Tehran is supplying weapons for Moscow's fighting in Ukraine. At the same time, concerns are growing over rising tensions between Israel and Iran. Moscow and Tehran signed a $1.7 billion deal for Iran to export drones to Russia after the Ukraine war started. At today's meeting, Putin told the Iranian president that relations with Tehran are a priority for Russia. Putin also invited the Iranian leader to visit Russia, which he accepted. Ukrainian President Zelensky visited German Chancellor Scholz today as part of a tour of Europe. This tour is to gain victory for his, or rather support for his victory plan to end the war with Russia. Zelensky joined a news conference with Scholz as he received a pledge of a new weapons package. Scholz emphasized Berlin's continued focus on helping Kyiv with air defense. He said that it will deliver another package of military support worth $1.5 billion with support from Belgium, Denmark, and Norway. Zelensky has yet to publicly detail his proposals for the victory plan. He said in Berlin that Ukraine would want to end the war no later than in 2025.
French firefighters evacuated households near Paris from last night to today. The remnants of Hurricane Kirk moved across Western Europe and drenched parts of France. The Weather Service said 2 areas remained on red alert for flooding, with peaks expected to be reached throughout today. They warned of high gusts in the Pyrenees Mountains and up to 3.5 inches of rain falling in the southern Picardy and Greater Paris regions. The saturated ground there means there is a risk of flooding.
Coming up, NTD's 7th International Piano Competition is coming right here to New York City as pianists prepare to compete for the top spot. Now, this year's competition adds a new category. Stay tuned for that.
The Nobel Peace Prize was awarded today to a Japanese organization of survivors of the atomic bombings. What does the group stand for? We're going to have that and more after this break.
Will radical lies determine your child's future, or will timeless truths? Fathom the Good equips children with wisdom against the world. Our homeschool curriculum teaches high schoolers to think critically. We provide primary texts, original content, reasoning tools, and mentoring videos to help them transform America. Teach your children to navigate the world's woke confusion. Teach them to fathom the good.
The Kindness is Cool Video Awards are back for their 2nd year. Record and nominate acts of kindness, both big and small, from individuals, families, and communities. Submit your videos on ganjingworld.com with the hashtag KindnessIsCool. Win a $10,000 grand prize and be featured on a New York Times Square billboard. Visit ganjingworld.com and start sharing today. Kindness is cool.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, ride your bike.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, smile big and bright.
Thousands of your kids just like me are happy every day.
And it's all because of generous people like you who support Shriners Hospitals for Children every month.
All you have to do is call the number on your screen or go online to loveshriners.org right now with your monthly gift.
Because of people like you, Shriners Hospitals for Children is able to make an everyday miracle happen for kids like me.
If you're happy and you know it, dance around. If you're happy and you know it, play a song.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it.
If you're happy and you know it, take a shot.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Will today be the day you send your love to the rescue?
When you call the number on your screen right now and give as little as $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you'll be making a life-changing difference for a child, just like Sarah.
Your monthly gift today could change your life forever.
Because of you.
We are happy and we know it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please call or go online right now to give. If operators are busy, please wait patiently or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Former President Trump continues his presidential campaign efforts today, rallying in Colorado and later in Nevada. NTD's David Lamb is in Reno now. David, what's happening there?
Yeah, hey, so I'm in Reno, Nevada, where Trump is expected to speak in a few hours. Another rally would be in Aurora, Colorado. And it's interesting because Colorado is now considered a blue Democratic state, with Hillary Clinton winning the state back in 2016 by 5%. President Biden winning the state in the last election by 14%. Now today, President Trump stated his border stance, saying that he's targeting Venezuelan immigrants, which he claims that is affecting the community in Aurora with theft and criminal activity. Now, the Aurora mayor said that these claims are over-exaggerations and that the incidents are only happening in several apartment complexes. Now, I'm in Reno, Nevada, where Trump expects to speak at 5:30 p.m. Central local time. To get a feel of how local voters are feeling here, I spoke to several of them, and let's hear what they have to say.
My thing is, we've seen a dramatic thing happen during the current administration, and now you have Kamala saying, hey, we're going to do this if I get elected. Why now? Why now are you going to do something when you've had this problem in the past and you didn't do anything? So that's a big thing on me, but the economy is probably the most.
Like, I don't necessarily always buy party politics, but her messaging is on point. It's positive, it's real, and the Trump message hasn't changed. It's negative. It's very much attack-based on a personal level versus, like, I guess, a message that is trying to raise up everybody as a whole and society as a whole.
Now, I spoke to a registered Democrat who didn't want to go on camera, but he said he was undecided between Harris and Trump. He believes Harris would be beneficial for women's rights, particularly abortion, whereas he did say that he believes Trump will bring in more money for the economy, but he didn't want to go on camera. So according to a Wall Street Journal poll, Trump is winning, or Trump is up ahead by 6 points in this battleground state. And Trump's message is that he wants to deport criminal illegal immigrants. In Reno, Nevada, David Lamb, NTD News, back to you in the studio.
Thanks for that report, David.
Now, former President Barack Obama was in Pittsburgh on Thursday night, starting a campaign tour for Vice President Harris.
Obama touted Harris's policies and stressed the importance to get out and vote. NTD's Jason Blair reports.
Former President Barack Obama started a campaign sprint for Vice President Harris in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on Thursday.
Are you fired up?
Obama made his case for Harris to about 400 people at the University of Pittsburgh Fitzgerald Fieldhouse.
We need a president who actually cares about solving problems and making your life better, and that's what Kamala Harris will do.
Obama brought up Harris's plan to implement a $6,000 tax credit for first-time parents.
I don't have to tell a lot of you, raising kids is hard. And she wants to make it easier to afford stuff like a crib or a car seat or diapers.
One of his biggest messages, though, was encouraging people to, quote, get off your couch and vote.
Put down your phone and vote. Grab your friends and family and vote. Vote for Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States.
Along with Obama, former President Bill Clinton will be hitting the road for Harris starting on Sunday in Georgia. It's reported that he'll be doing smaller scale events in swing states as well as visiting, quote, hard to reach rural voters. Also announced, First Lady Jill Biden will start campaigning for Vice President Harris. For 4 days starting on Saturday, she'll visit Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania to, quote, highlight Vice President Harris's vision for a new way forward. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Jason Blair, NTD News.
Coming up, producer prices remain steady in September. What does this mean for inflation? That and more after this break.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. You may know me from my many years on television. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I felt this slight pressure on my chest, just slight. I thought, oh, it's nothing, it'll go away. I didn't get it. I did not get it. But a few days later, while shopping at a boutique, that pressure returned, much stronger. It felt like an elephant pressing on my chest. I had a 90% blockage in my main artery and a 75% blockage in the adjacent artery. I was rushed into surgery where I received 2 stents in my arteries. Stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. That's why I'm in front of you today, asking you to join me in supporting the American Heart Association by becoming a monthly donor. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. I'm so grateful to the American Heart Association. Their research helped save my life. I can enjoy life with my children, my grandchildren, and my friends. Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives. Please, listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did. So please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now. Join me as a monthly donor today and help save even more lives. Thank you.
When I drink it, the first thing was I feel the warmth in my tummy. It's kind of like gently radiating out, a kind of a very comforting warmth. And it was really good, actually. I felt much better. I did feel, actually, an effect. And I find that it is actually better when I take it regularly.
It's actually steamed and dried 9 times. And so it's really, the essence is really extracted.
Then the second time, I tried it really like on an empty stomach and just 2 teaspoons of it, and over a few times. And wow, that was a big difference, because suddenly I could feel, wow, I was very good energized. I didn't have to eat. I could work outside in the garden for a couple of hours, and I still felt very well. And I was impressed by that. So I think it's a good product.
Welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Fiona G.
I'm Carrie Dunst.
Former President Donald Trump is holding an early afternoon rally in Aurora, Colorado.
With an influx of violent Venezuelan gang members, the local community is calling out to end the crime.
An NTD exclusive, a deep dive into election data. The multi-million-dollar question, are media polls underestimating former President Trump's support in this election as they did in the past? NTD's Kevin Hogan with the report.
Coming up, producer prices remain steady in September. What does this mean for the inflation outlook?
The rising popularity of weight loss drugs is impacting the bridal industry. Seamstresses and designers are under pressure to make alterations. That and more after the break, right here.
The Cybercab, the Robovan, Optimus improvements, and more. Tesla CEO Elon Musk makes a slate of product announcements.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Former President Donald Trump is holding an early afternoon rally in Aurora, Colorado.
Yes, with approximately 43,000 immigrants flooding the neighboring city of Denver since December 2022, many of these migrants have made their way to Aurora, and the influx of violent Venezuelan gang members brought fear and anxiety.
There is now a call to end this crime. Let's tune in and hear what Trump has to say.
Here into the United States.
A group of men walking up a stairwell at the Edge Lowry apartment complex in Aurora. All of them appear to be carrying rifles and handguns, and the video shot earlier this month. One of the men can be seen talking on a cell phone. They all then gather around a door and go in. Another video clip shows men forcing a door open.
This is a picture of gang members breaking into a vacant apartment so they could move a Venezuelan family in and then collect rent. This is our business plan, one gang member told a housekeeper. If he, the property manager, doesn't like it, we'll fill him with bullets.
In the region say a Venezuelan gang known as Tren de Aragua has victimized thousands through extortion, drug and human trafficking, kidnapping, and murder. Alvaro Boza, a former Venezuelan police officer now living in Florida, says he fled his country in large part because the gang had become so powerful they could kill law enforcement like him with impunity. Boza says a fellow police officer who refused to cooperate with the gang was shot 50 times. Now, U.S. law enforcement, including customs...
In her own room, Kayla's murderer was apprehended by Border Patrol crossing illegally into the U.S.
Kayla's murderer had been improperly released into the United States.
Abolish ICE. Yeah, we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
An Afghan national is in custody today after being accused of plotting an election day terrorist attack. The suspect entered the U.S. on a special immigrant visa.
More than a dozen people suspected of being Tren de Aragua gang members right here in San Antonio.
The gang members had been terrorizing the apartment complex.
New details in the murder of Laken Riley. The illegal immigrant suspect, who cops say committed the heinous murder, is a Venezuelan national.
And was paroled and released into the country by the Biden administration.
2 men investigators say are in the country illegally from Venezuela are charged with capital murder and the death of Jocelyn Nungaray.
Court documents suggest a group of men arrested for beating and robbing a Dallas woman last month are members of a Venezuelan street gang.
Manuel Hernandez was booked by Colleyville police just 2 days earlier and released the day before the robbery.
Okay, it seems that we have lost connection with the feed for a moment there. That is former President Donald Trump speaking in Aurora, Colorado. As we previously mentioned, a lot of today's talk will be focused on the border crisis and illegal immigration, talking about gangs that have reportedly set up operations in American communities in the United States. We saw, there's a sign right beside Trump there. Seems that there's mugshots of 2 criminals on those photos. Also a big sign that said deport illegals now. You can't see it right now, but it is there.
That's right. Aurora, Colorado is a suburb of Denver, just in the southeast. Colorado used to be red. It flipped a couple campaigns or elections ago, and now is more blue, where it had become more open to illegal migration, and now Trump is there campaigning. I don't think he expects that he can flip the state. It seems like he's trying to use the border as a stumping opportunity by going to Aurora.
That's right. And when we tuned in just then, the campaign was playing a video right there on a large screen in that very large venue there, a compilation of news reports and videos talking about these alleged gangs that have set up their operations in these local communities. And a lot of rallies going on right now from both parties as we get nearer and nearer to Election Day. I mean, we're 25 days out from November 5th. Really, we're seeing this huge push from both parties for that get out the vote effort. So much hinges on those few undecided voters right now in those swing states. So we're really seeing the candidates put their effort into trying to win these voters over. And I am now being told that we do have the signal back for the live feed. Let's tune in again.
They've been conquered. And we will put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them out of our country. And we will be very, very effective in doing it. It's going to happen very, very fast. We're going to get them the hell out of our country. And if you're a weak and ineffective governor, Jared Polis, was doing his job, he would be leading the fight to get these gangs and thugs the hell out of Colorado now. And remember, it was Polis. So nice to me in the White House. Sir, yes, sir. Called me sir. Called me sir. He would have done whatever the hell I wanted. Yes, sir. Oh, sir, it's such an honor. And yet it was Polis who led the move to take me off the ballot because I was leading in the polls against all of the Democrats. And then the Supreme Court, very brave and very brilliant, actually, voted 9-0 that I should be on the ballot. 9-0. Everybody unanimous that I should be. I was leading everybody on the ballot. Every Democrat, I was leading everybody. He said, we have to get him off the ballot because that was part of their scheme. You know, not only the weaponization, but this was actually part of the weaponization. Their first move was to try and get me off the ballot. They didn't want to run against me. They liked other people much better. Much better. You know, we ran and won in 2016. We did much better by millions of votes in 2020, but we won't discuss that. And I will tell you, you see it by the crowd. You see it outside. Let's take a look outside. We are today, there's more enthusiasm for this movement, MAGA, the greatest movement. It's called Make America Great Again. There's more enthusiasm today than ever before. But there was great indignation in Colorado by what this ineffective person did. They really were angry at him, and they were angry. And especially, you know who was the most indignant? The Democrats, believe it or not. They thought it was a terrible thing to do because that is really a threat to democracy, not the fake threat that they use all the time. So I hope that Colorado, I love this place. I'm here a lot, as you know. I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends here. And they tell me the whole thing is turning, but you can't live like this. You can't live with these people. These are stone cold killers. You could be walking down the street with your husband. You'll both be dead. They won't even remember they did it the following morning. You can't live like this. So
Seems that we've lost signal again, but that is all right. A lot of talk there, as we just mentioned, about illegal immigrants, border crisis. Kerry?
Yeah, Trump bringing up the polarized situation where the governor came to the White House when he was president, but then led the charge to get him removed from the ballot. It ended up going to the Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that Trump should be on the ballot and have the right to compete for the state.
Yeah, Kerry, and unfortunately, I don't think we will be going back to that feed, but I am sure that Trump is speaking a lot of talking points there that we have heard from many of his other rallies. Now, coming up, producer prices remain steady in September. But what does this mean for the inflation outlook?
And the cybercab, the robovan, Optimus improvements, and more. Tesla CEO Elon Musk makes a slate of product announcements. We're going to have that and more after the break.
The tempting online world is encroaching on our campus. Is unplugging cables and confiscating phones the solution to protect our children? No, we just need a clean multimedia platform. Join Ganjing Campus to leverage premium channel features, professional development courses, and kindness event toolkits tailored for teachers. Build a truly positive and interactive classroom community. Foster a pure and delightful learning environment for children.
Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Dave's Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Dave's enzyme fermented coffee.
There's a whirlwind of emotion and activity going on in this painting. And there's chaos all around and threat from below. The wolves surrounding her, and they're anything but unmoved. They're moving all the time, and we sense that. But this little girl remains unmoved.
She's in quite a perilous situation, but she's completely strong and serene, and she's actually meditating. It was very, very well liked because no matter what culture or what sort of walk of life you're from, I think people, they see it and they immediately understand what that energy, what that message is, and they're drawn to it because everybody kind of needs a little bit of that in their own life, of, you know, the steadfast calmness and something to hold on to. It's definitely an inner peace in the midst of something very chaotic, and for a lot of people right now, the whole world is very, very chaotic. So I guess that's another reason why so many people are very drawn to this.
Adopting you was the best decision in our life. And I'm so proud to call you my son.
Welcome back. For today's Business Matters, we have Don Ma here with us. Don, always a pleasure. Anything new today in the world of business?
Yeah, actually good news for the U.S. consumer for you guys, starting off with that. Two of the country's biggest banks said today that consumers remain resilient with solid spending in the third quarter. But that there's still signs, though, that higher inflation has stretched some Americans on lower incomes. So JP Morgan's chief financial officer said that spending patterns were, quote, consistent with the narrative that consumers are on solid footing. JP Morgan Chase and Wells Fargo both reported strong earnings today. BlackRock's asset under management hit a record high for the third straight quarter. Assets managed by BlackRock shot up to $11.5 trillion in the period. So the U.S. stock market rally actually boosted inflows. Stocks reversed in August sell-off and broadened their rally in the third quarter. It was boosted partially by renewed hopes of a softer landing for the U.S. economy. BlackRock is expanding its offerings to become an all-in-one platform for investors by integrating public and private markets. Now, Volkswagen today reported a 7% decline in third quarter global deliveries, and this is showing how Europe's car industry is facing tough challenges. And that includes weak demand from China and high production costs at home. Europe's car companies also have to contend with the impact of a potential trade war between Beijing and the European Union. The automaker has cut its annual outlook for a second time in less than 3 months and expects to deliver fewer cars this year. Now let's talk about inflation. Producer prices were unchanged in September, pointing to a still favorable inflation outlook and supporting views that the Federal Reserve would cut interest rates again next month. So the Producer Price Index measures average price changes for producers and manufacturers. It rose 1.8% for the year ending in September. According to official figures, that's slightly down from the 1.9% gain in August. The annual rate is still higher than the 1.6% level economists had expected. And a huge fine for a bank in a case involving drug cartels' money laundering. Regulators announced yesterday that TD Bank has to pay $3 billion. The money is to settle charges that it failed to properly monitor the illicit activity. The fine includes a $1.3 billion penalty that will be paid to the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. And that's a record fine for a bank. TD also intends to pay just under $2 billion to the Justice Department. It's going to plead guilty to resolve the government's investigation that the bank allowed money laundering. Attorney General Merrick Garland said about the bank that, quote, by making its services convenient for criminals, it became one. And TikTok has confirmed that it is laying off hundreds of employees from its global workforce. The social media giant said it's part of a shift towards a greater use of AI in content moderation. Malaysia is particularly hard hit, though TikTok later said fewer than 500 employees in Malaysia were affected. Employees were mostly involved in the firm's content moderation operations. TikTok employs a mix of automated detection and human moderators to preview and review content posted on the site. The Department of Justice is suing a company executive for evading tariffs on Chinese solar panels. The company EcoSolargy imported solar panels into the United States. Its executive, Paul Bacom, is accused of making false statements to customs officials to evade tariffs. And these tariffs are meant to counter China's oversupply and dumping practices. Examples include solar cells that were classified as LED lights, or the country of origin was labeled as Turkey instead of China. DOJ seeks more than $1 million to recover lost revenue in import duties and civil penalties. Meanwhile, Indonesia has asked Google and Apple to block Chinese fast fashion firm Temu in their application stores. The move aims to protect the country's small and medium-sized businesses against cheap products offered by Temu. The company's rapid growth has triggered scrutiny over its low-cost business model of sending parcels to customers from China by several countries. Now, Indonesia will also block any investment by Temu in local e-commerce if it makes such a move. Temu, Shein, Apple, and Google did not respond to requests for comment. All right, now joining me is automotive industry expert Lauren Fix at Car Coach Reports. Lauren, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well. So it looks like former President Trump announced new tax incentives aimed at revitalizing auto manufacturing. And of course, this is a presidential campaign promise, and that includes credits for research and development as well, expanded claims of equipment costs for small businesses, as well as consumer tax deductions for car loan interest. So Lauren, will increased tariffs on imported vehicles significantly boost domestic auto production, in your opinion?
Well, actually, I do like the free market to reign, but when you've got China coming in and purposely controlling the marketplace, and we foolishly shipped a lot of jobs and a lot of sub companies over there for components, that's what's really costing us. But the whole idea of Donald Trump's plan actually has some good legs. As someone who owns a manufacturing company, having the ability to write off some of our R&D is very helpful. And this administration has stopped that. And that makes it difficult for people to come up with new batteries, solid state batteries for electric cars, new technologies. A lot of that gets shipped overseas because we no longer have the ability to write that off, but also giving consumers the opportunity to write off their interest is very big, because what that'll do is increase sales for the auto industry. Right now, the auto industry is struggling badly. Stellantis is in really huge trouble with their CEO. Nissan is in trouble as well. And pretty much every brand is having a lot of challenges, especially with this electric vehicle mandate. Now, if the mandate gets set aside like Donald Trump would like to do, I think what you're going to see is a huge increase in sales, because consumers will then be able to purchase what they want, but then offering them to be able to write off their interest on their taxes, that would help them a lot. It'll help the local economies as well, because dealers will be selling more cars, and that helps everyone up and down the supply chain.
But let me ask you this, Trump's proposal of tariffs on imported automobiles, have they helped or harmed the U.S. auto industry if we look back into history?
Well, it depends on how it's done, and Donald Trump did it correctly. And what's interesting is this current administration, President Biden said that he was going to leave the tariffs in place. So he liked the money coming in from China, but then he doubled it and made it 200%. So that's where it's supposed to be going to. As they increase these tariffs under the current administration, we have to look at the impact. Is it impacting or helping or not? And that requires someone to look into history and to look to see how it's helping or hurting. We were in the process of making chips here in the U.S. with Chimney Rock being hit with the storm. We're losing a huge quartz plant. We've got a fire in Wyoming where there's lithium plants. We have a lithium plant in North Carolina. It's going to definitely push back the chip manufacturing here, which would definitely help us versus bringing everything in from other countries. But at this point, I think we might run into another chip shortage, which is not good.
Would these tariffs increase costs for consumers?
No, it shouldn't, because what will happen is as long as car manufacturers start to realize this in advance, and they've been given a heads up, if President Trump wins, then they'll have plenty of heads up to be looking for new suppliers here in the U.S. or in other countries. If they're coming from China or some of their Chinese-owned companies, they know their costs are going to go up. They're already raising prices on literally every car. The average price of a vehicle that's just gasoline powered is $50,000, and the average cost of an electric car is $66,000. So they're making it so far out of reach for the average consumer, especially with interest rates being what they are. They have not dropped to the point that made it easier for consumers with everything costing more money. We are in a tough situation as a consumer. The auto industry is hurting all the way around. We're seeing a lot of job layoffs, and it's just not good. And the only way to save this is to use the tariffs to go back into the economy. And I think that will be a huge factor in allowing consumers to not have taxes on tips, bringing back the SALT deduction. All these kind of things will definitely help the economy.
All right, let me talk to you about tax incentives. In your opinion, do they, for manufacturers and consumers, really result in long-term job creation?
Well, they can, because if there's more cash available, whether it be from a manufacturer or a car company or a local dealer, the more money that they have in their pocket, the more willing, more people are going to spend money, and the more willing manufacturers and brands and companies will be to hire more people. Still, when things are tight, you let people go. You let go that person who did an okay job, but they probably did a good job, because you need to keep your best employees to keep your company afloat. When things are more free-flowing and you have more cash available to you, you're going to hire more people, you're going to do more research and development, and you'll be able to increase your sales.
And do you think allowing consumers to deduct car loan interest, will that substantially increase car sales, or is this just more of a short-term fix that maybe perhaps overlooks deeper economic issues?
Well, I know a lot of people don't maybe look at it in the same way I do. But how I see it is, if you give customers more of their money back, they're more likely to spend it on other things to help the economy. It's a rising tides kind of theory. But overall, if you look at things like the Laffer curve and a lot of other economics, experts are going to tell you that giving people back their money means that they'll spend more money. And that's good for not just the economy. It allows them to buy more cars, allows them to buy more accessories, more repairs and maintenance for the things that they have. All of that adds up for everyone. So giving people back their money, that's the best way to do it.
Okay, one more thing here. Can you talk about the dynamics between Trump promising to boost domestic oil production and the car industry's current shift toward electric vehicles?
Well, the car industry was shifting toward electric vehicles because of a government mandate. No government mandate has ever been a good thing. But when you take the opportunity to shift back to fracking, drilling more here, keeping our oil and gas here for us to use, this is actually a good thing. All of these, you're starting to see the transition of car manufacturers realizing, if we want to stay in business, we better start producing what customers want. And back to what I originally said about Stellantis, at first they said every car they build will be either hybrid, electric, or gas. Well, now they've doubled down the other direction because of government pressure to all electrics. And what's happening? They've got layoffs. They're shuffling their executive management. People are being let go. All of this is adding up in a negative way for companies like Stellantis and Nissan. What you want to be able to do is offer what customers want. They want hybrids, they want plug-in hybrids, they want electric, and they want gas. They want to be able to choose what works for them and for their lifestyle, not being told this is what you must have. Every time that happens, it never works out well for the brands, and it never works out well for the consumers.
All right, Lauren, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
And next, important recall for parents to know about. Fisher-Price has recalled more than 2 million baby swings due to a risk of suffocation. 5 babies died between 2012 and 2022. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission said in most of those cases, the babies who died were unrestrained and bedding materials were added to the product. The swing should never be used for sleep, and bedding materials should never be added to it. The Fisher-Price Suga Swings were sold at Amazon, Toys R Us, Walmart, and Target. And if you have one, you should remove the headrest and body support insert from the seat pad before continuing to use the swing for your baby. Also, Fisher-Price is offering a $25 refund to shoppers who remove and destroy the headrest and body support insert. Tesla CEO Elon Musk made major announcements last night at the We Robot Tesla party, including new products. Here are the details.
Welcome to the We Robot Party.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk made a slew of announcements Thursday night at Warner Brothers Studio. He introduced the Cybercab, a fully autonomous car with no steering wheel or pedals. It's intended to cost under $30,000 and operate as a robo-taxi. Musk says people could own a group of cybercabs the same way a shepherd tends to a flock of sheep. He projects rides may cost 30 to 40 cents per mile, including taxes. It can also be charged inductively. The car can be parked above a charging pad with no need to plug anything in. Musk also unveiled the RoboVan, an autonomous van that can hold 20 people and transport cargo.
How will this affect the cities that we live in? There's parking lots everywhere, parking garages. So what would happen if you have an autonomous world is that you can now turn parking lots into parks. And we're taking the ing lot out of parking lot.
Guests at the event also mingled with Optimus robots. The robots waved at guests, served drinks, beat them at rock, paper, scissors, lost to them at rock, paper, scissors, and danced.
You should be able to buy an Optimus robot for, I think, probably $20,000 to $30,000 long term. So, and what can it do? It'll basically do anything you want. So it can be a teacher, babysit your kids. It can walk your dog, mow your lawn, get the groceries, just be your friend, serve drinks. Whatever you can think of.
Tesla's stock dropped 9% after the party. Investors expressed concern over a lack of details. Musk predicts the Cybercab will be out before 2027, at the same time acknowledging he's known for his optimistic timeframes.
And the increasing popularity of weight loss drugs is having an effect on the bridal industry. With drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy, brides are quickly shedding pounds. That in turn is putting pressure on dressmakers and designers to make more alterations. Oftentimes at the last minute, those changes can be time-consuming and expensive, especially considering how many wedding dresses are intricate with layers of beading and material. And some brides who experience extreme weight loss could end up needing a purchase of a new dress entirely. With more brides turning to such drugs, dress alterations could even get more challenging and more expensive as well. It should be noted that the Food and Drug Administration has warned consumers of risks associated with unapproved GLP-1 drugs. And now, joining me is Vijay Marolia. He's the founder and CIO at RP Capital Solutions. Vijay, how are you doing today?
Fantastic, and how are you doing?
I'm doing well too. So let me ask you this. JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon, he's saying that he's seeing risk increasing around the world amid conflicts in the Middle East and Russia's invasion of Ukraine, saying that it could have economic impacts. Do you agree or disagree with what he's saying?
Well, I think that when you qualify it with a could have economic impact, then of course I would have to agree. And I think that what he's doing, which is what any good leader would do, especially on a public conference call, earnings call, is you're basically trying to massage expectations. And this might be an example of that. But at the same time, we cannot deny that, yes, there are a lot of dangers. And there does not seem to be many signs of slowing down. And so I do share that sentiment, but it's a sentiment that is not uncommon.
Okay, so with that in mind, what do you see as the biggest headwinds for the financial markets in the coming quarters?
I think the election is probably going to be the biggest question mark. But remember, there are more than one or a few type of financial markets. Earlier today, I was having a very good conversation about gold and precious metals. So that's a marketplace. And that, as you probably, I think you've already discussed this, and I would love to talk to you about it as well. But there's a reason why gold and precious metals are rising. I think that the marketplace is concerned about inflation, something that maybe your viewers are tired of me talking about, but I promise you it's for a good reason. Inflation's not going away. Just because the rate comes down does not mean the cost of living comes down. And that's the real issue.
So do you feel like perhaps people should diversify their portfolios, maybe think about commodities like gold and others, for example?
I think that diversification is a great idea until and unless you over diversify, but it depends on your goals. So for example, I know index funds and ETFs are the rage, and I have nothing against index funds, and ETFs are helpful, but the new ETFs, there's like single stock ETFs, there's inverse ETFs, there's 2x, 3x leverage ETFs. My concern is that what is supposed to be investing is turning into gambling. And I think that it's not a coincidence that gambling is becoming legalized, normalized, and you're seeing celebrities endorse that behavior, which I don't condone. But somebody else, to play the devil's advocate, they would say maybe Wall Street's the biggest casino. So to that, I would say, well, there are risks inherent in all of life's decisions. So, but I think I digress.
All right. Speaking about risk, Jamie Dimon also expressed concern about rising U.S.-China tensions. I'm just curious, what's your biggest concern on this front from your vantage point?
I think that was the statement that he made that made least sense to me. And the reason why I say that is because if you were to just look at the current administration's policy, behavior, and the trends in our country, they seem to be pro-China, if anything, right? If you just look at, we're wasting time on wars that we have very little knowledge about and should not have, in my not so humble opinion, we shouldn't really have a dog in that fight. Okay, I think we should mind our own business to a certain extent. We have our problems of our own. I think that when you look at illegal immigration, I think that's a big concern, but that certainly helps China. And so does all this nonsense about standardized tests are racist and that boys and girls are social constructs. There's a lot of problems that we have, but all of the current trends, especially that the administration is for, seem to benefit China in the long run.
So you mentioned wars. You mentioned wars just now, and I want to ask you a question about that. So with defense spending on the rise globally, do you see an opportunity, investment opportunity in defense stocks?
Short answer is yes. Here's the sad reality. War is very profitable, especially with the current structure, right? I would ask everyone to go listen to, and it's easy to find on YouTube, but President Eisenhower's farewell address. And he warned us about what's happening, what we've witnessed. And I think a lot of people, especially outlets outside of NTD, and I commend you guys, and God bless you guys for being a voice of reason and of truth. but people are forgetting that war is profitable, and but is it moral? And that is, I think, a bigger question.
It certainly is. So what strategies would you give investors to protect their portfolios?
Well, I would say that any inflation protection is a good idea because inflation is not going away. But full disclosure, we own ETFs that basically invest in the defense stocks. So I don't want to sound as if I'm riding on some sort of high horse. I have a fiduciary obligation, and that is to protect and grow my client's capital, and that's what I intend to do. And if that's where the money is going, then that's where it's going. But my vote may not be for a continuation of what I consider to be a negative.
All right, just one last thing here on U.S.-China relations. Again, so Trump said that he's going to put huge tariffs on certain Chinese imports. Is that going to increase tensions between the two countries?
Assuming that Trump is elected and that goes through, will that increase tensions? Yes, but the reason why is because Trump is going to be pro-America rather than pro-China. And it's not that he's going to be anti-China. It's just that the job when you are the president of the United States is to protect the United States. It's not to defend Ukraine and to let everybody in, even if they might be convicted felons. So I think, and I hope that when Trump gets elected, if we're so blessed, that maybe the tensions rise very slightly, and I mean that. It'll be slight because then all they'll do is back off a little bit because now there's a big boy at the table that's not a puppet.
All right, VJ, always great speaking to you.
Likewise.
All right, that's all the stories we have for you guys on Business Matters. Yeah, back to you guys.
So we talked about robo-taxis last week, but that unveiling of product and that party that Elon Musk threw really was attention-grabbing.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the robots dancing in that clip in the cage. I don't know if I'm ready for a future like that just yet. But I mean, the concept sounds interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the robo van. What's the other one? Cyber cab.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Sounds similar to robo taxi. So maybe a little bit of competition there. Who knows?
I don't know if you guys know this, but in the robo taxi, there's actually no steering wheel and there's no pedals either. Yeah.
That's interesting. Wow. Well, we'll certainly be keeping a look on these product releases from Elon Musk. Thanks so much, Don. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Don.
Right. Coming up, NTD's Jack Bradley is in Florida, bringing us more about the rescue efforts after Hurricane Milton swept across the state. Stay with us.
One in 5 children worldwide are faced with the reality of living without food. No family dinners, no special treats, not enough energy to play. All around the world, hunger is affecting children's physical and mental health. Toddlers are suffering from acute malnutrition, which stunts their growth. Kids are forced to drop out of school so they can help support their families. Conflict, inflation, and climate have ignited the worst famine in our lifetime. And we are fed up. Fed up that hunger devours dreams. Fed up that hunger destroys joy. Fed up with the fact that hunger eats childhood. Help us feed the futures of children all over the world by visiting givetosave.org. For as little as $10 a month, you can join Save the Children as we support children and families in desperate need of our help. Now is the time to get fed up and give back. When you join the cause, your $10 monthly donation can help communities in need of life-saving treatments and nutrients, prevent children from dropping out of school, support our work with communities and governments to help children go from short-term surviving to long-term thriving. And now, thanks to special government grants, every dollar you give can multiply up to 10 times the impact. That means more food, water, medicine, and help for kids around the world. You'll also receive a free tote bag to share your support for children in need. Having your childhood eaten away by hunger is unimaginable. Get fed up. Call us now or visit givetosave.org today.
Is deep-sea fish oil really healthy? Due to pollution in the oceans, most fish contain heavy metal elements and radioactive substances. That's why it's so important to choose a pure source of omega-3. Puritang Green Vegetable Omega-3 is made from purslane and perilla seeds, which are rich in nutrients and minerals, especially vitamins A, D, E, calcium, and iron. With natural processing and no harmful chemical additives, it has more than 90% concentration of omegas 3, 6, 7, and 9. It effectively improves brain power and is beneficial to the heart's health. Puritang Omega-3 does not smell of fish and contains no pollutants, so both adults and children can safely and easily consume it over a long period of time. Puritang Green Vegetable Omega-3. Greener, healthier, and more effective. Visit puritang.com to learn more.
Welcome back to Newsroom. At least 16 people have died as a result of Hurricane Milton. In St. Lucie, Florida, multiple tornadoes killed 6 people and destroyed homes. NTD's Jack Bradley joins us now from St. Lucie. Jack, good to see you. Tell us, what are the recovery efforts out there?
Fiona, well, there's a lot of search and recovery efforts going on right now. People are trying to get back things back in order here. If you just look at the damage around me here, check out this minivan. It's actually a full-blown van that was flipped over on its side, completely picked up by the tornado. There were several tornadoes that passed through here, some that split into 2. Now, this minivan, according to residents, was parked way over there on that side of the parking lot, next behind that fence over there. And it was lifted up by the tornado and tossed several feet into the air and flipped over here. Now, nobody's going to be driving that for a little while. Look at this telephone pole down there next to that fence. That's a completely snapped in half telephone pole. People are driving over it as we speak. It's not very safe to go over, so people need to exercise caution around here. And now it's just one of many down telephone poles. Look at these snapped trees behind me. Trees ripped out of the ground, completely uprooted. And homes boarded up. Their windows were completely boarded up. And in this entire area, power is still out right now. Houses are destroyed in many places, and the blackout is affecting every resident here. Even the stores are keeping open just by having generators here. Now, utility workers are trying to get the power back on here. And here in St. Lucie, the tornado killed 6 people. Tornadoes are uncommon in this area, by the way. And just north of here, many residents from Tampa, the West Coast, were coming over onto the East Coast to take shelter just north of here where the tornadoes didn't take place. And I spoke to some of them who are now on their way to Tampa, but hitting that traffic. Take a look.
We pretty much had a hurricane party at the hotel with all the other people.
Yeah.
Hanging off the balcony, drinking,
Okay.
It was a good time.
Too much information. They said no power, no water.
We're hoping that changes by the time we get home.
A little bit of flooding, some trees down, some people got like roof problems and things like that. But other than that, it wasn't as bad as they expected.
And how's the journey back home?
Terrible so far. How long were we stuck on this road?
We were here for over an hour. I suppose there was a bad accident here somewhere.
Yeah.
We were backed up all the way past the county line.
It's crazy. I've been driving. I left at like 11:30. Usually it's like a 3.5 hour drive. It's about to take me like 5 hours to get there.
Yeah, a class hamster. Came home with us the Friday before and was expected to stay 2 days. He's been with us now for about a week.
Now, authorities say that the death toll is expected to rise as search and rescue efforts continue here. More than the 16 that are confirmed across the state of Florida as a result of Hurricane Milton. Fiona, back to you.
Jack, reporting from on the ground there in Florida. I mean, the devastation is absolutely unbelievable. Keep the reports coming. Thanks.
The presidential election is shaping up to be a close race between Vice President Harris and former President Trump. That's according to many media polls. But what are those polls really telling us? NTD's election reporter Kevin Hogan is at the Data Hub. Kevin, what are the polls showing us and how should we interpret those numbers?
Hi, Kerry. That's what we have for you today. We have the latest swing state polls from the 538 polling average, polling likely and registered voters. Look at this. You got the 7 swing states right here. North Carolina, former President Trump is up about a point. Remember, he carried this state twice. Very close race. Michigan, we're getting into the blue wall. They have Harris at about 0.8 points over former President Trump. Very tight race. Critical states to win here. Look at this. Wisconsin, 0.6 points going to Harris again. Neck and neck. Pennsylvania, Harris is up. So she's slated to win the big swing state prize of Pennsylvania, about a half a point. That's the blue wall going to Harris. Now back to the Sun Belt, Georgia. Trump is up 0.9 points. Again, very close. He won it once. He lost it. Arizona, Trump's biggest lead, 1.3 points, as you can see right here. Nevada, Trump lost it twice, 0.6 points in favor of Harris. Remember, these are changing on a daily basis. A few days ago, this had Harris up about 1.8 points in Michigan, so always changing. But there's this piece of research that I recently came across that I want to share with you. Did you know that in the 2020 presidential election, the polling errors for the national popular vote were the greatest error in 40 years. That's according to the American Association for Public Opinion Research. Now, that's not all. The state level polling in the media polls was the greatest error in at least, and I want to underscore this again, in at least 20 years. So now, what does this mean? And where are we seeing this error so much? That's what you're looking at right here. The entire country is red because in 2020, the polling errors had the Trump vote was underestimated in these media polls. Now, there are a couple states like Louisiana and so on, Alaska, a couple of them that had Trump as being overestimated, and a couple states like California and New Mexico, they had an accurate prediction. They got it right. But look, they're basically in the minority. The big story here is that we see this national underestimation of Trump all across these states. Now, let's look at some of the key swing states that we're talking here. Wisconsin, they underestimated Trump by about 5 points. Now, and then in Michigan, about 4 points. And then you have Pennsylvania, about 3 points. So that is very significant considering just how tight these races are right now. Now, did we see something similar like that in 2016? We'll get to that. But before, look at this. It's all red, but where is this map most red? That's in deep Trump country right here. Take Wyoming, for example. On this map, it's very deep red. And what does that mean? That means that where you have more Trump voters, you saw more Trump underestimation. So it shows a strong relationship there. Now, let's look at 2016. What do we see? It's about the same story. We don't have state level data for all the non-battleground states. And in that research paper, they show that all these battleground states, non-battleground states on average, underestimated Trump by about 3.3 points. That's why you can see that crosshatch is just about that light red. However, in these battleground states like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, you see these are all red in the blue wall there. So that's 6 points they underestimated Trump, these media polls in 2016. 3 points in Michigan and 4 points in Pennsylvania. Remember, 2016, former President Trump was able to carry the blue wall, and that's what propelled him to the White House. Now, you got a couple states, though, that did overestimate former President Trump. Nevada, remember, he won that in 2016, or he lost that in 2016, however, so it's fairly consistent, but we're seeing a national trend all over the place here. So now, which of these states are critical that we have to really pay very close attention to that have a big Trump vote underestimation? That's what we're showing you right here. So now we have the average error in 2016 and 2020 presidential elections for the media polls and how much they underestimated Trump. Look at this. North Carolina, 3.1 points. Again, he carried the state twice, but he was polling way down from what he actually did in 2016 and 2020. Now, Michigan, 4.4 points. That's a huge underestimation when you consider just how close these races are. Wisconsin, this is the biggest one, 6 points. Remember, everyone was so surprised in 2016 when Trump carried Wisconsin over Hillary Clinton. They all had her at way higher in the polls. They underpolled Trump. And then in Pennsylvania, 3.4 points. Again, remember, this is the big battleground state prize. So now we look at all this and we say, okay, let's take a step back from the cold, hard data and let's walk in an adventure right now. We're going to go into fiction land. What do we see if we were to add this underestimation to the current polls? if, in fact, the pollsters right now are underestimating former President Trump like they did in the past. What would we get? That's what you see here. We've taken the 538 polling average, and NTD adjusted these polls, assuming that these pollsters are underestimating Trump in the same way as they did. That's what you're looking at, adjusted polls. Former President Trump carrying all of these swing states. North Carolina, he was already up, but now he's up by much more, 4 points. Michigan, he flipped it now to Trump. Wisconsin, 5.4 points. Again, that's the biggest margin that we see right there. Pennsylvania, you're giving Trump 3 points. So it would be a much different story compared to exactly what it would be if the polls were accurate right now versus if they are underestimating him. So now we're going to look at some of the reasons why these polls underestimated former President Trump in the past. For example, in 2016, what did they not do? They did not weight the polls based on education. Remember, former President Trump got a lot of his support from those white voters without college degrees. So it's really important that you do that. They did not do that in 2016. Same with location. They got to wait for that. They didn't. Now we talk about shy Trump voters. What does that mean? That means that there's this social pressure that was reportedly happening that prevented these Trump voters from telling anyone who they were voting for. And that includes pollsters. So the shy Trump voters were throwing the pollsters off because they couldn't get that segment of the electorate to show up. Now, if you remember, who was the only pollster back in 2016 that got it right in Pennsylvania and Michigan showing Trump in the lead? Trafalgar. What did Trafalgar do differently? They took the shy Trump voter and they tried to make a correction for that. They asked them, okay, who are you going to vote for? And they followed that up with the next question. Who do you think your neighbors are going to vote for? And they saw a wide variation between those two answers. So they were able to correct for that, and they got it right. Now, non-responders, these Trump voters are really hard to get on the phone. So the pollsters couldn't pick that up. And then you say, well, just do a little bit more online surveys and make up for it. We'll talk about that in a minute. But it's also hard to get these Trump voters because former President Trump kept saying that these polls are fake polls. They're just voter suppression tactics to keep you on the couch and not have you come out and support me. Because he said that, his voters then lost confidence in these media polls, and then they just wouldn't pick up the phone when they were calling. So now we know why. What does that mean for us right now? We asked the question, are polls underestimating former President Trump in this election? Well, they changed the weighting, and that didn't fix the problem. They changed the weighting for things like education and so on right before the 2020 election, so they made that correction, but what happened? 2020, they still had a huge underestimation of the Trump vote. There was another thing. This research paper showed that, well, if you just do more online surveys, you're not going to pick up the Trump vote because using alternative sampling methods, that won't help. It's the same across all of these. And then you have the internal polling. Pro-Harris PAC says that their internal polling is showing a much less rosy picture than what the media is telling the public. So there's a lot to be said here. Do we know whether the polls are underestimating Trump this time? It's a question that probably has a lot to it, but there is a likely possibility that this could be happening, but we're only going to know once all the votes are counted. Back to you, Carrie.
Thanks, Kevin. I'm literally on the edge of my seat.
Absolutely. And that is all the time we have for you today. Thank you for watching NTD Newsroom.
Please don't forget to tune in to our weekend evening news at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific. I'm Carrie Dunst.
And I am Fiona G. Have an amazing weekend.